1. The pitch black of the cosmic void demands a sacrifice once again. Answer its riddle, or watch this entire timeline burn for the 12th time. Guan Hyuk stands frozen in the deep darkness, completely broken. A cold, formless entity lectures him about fate, treating humans like toys. He is just an insignificant speck in their grand, cruel design. It demands answers that Guan Hyuk cannot possibly give them. Despair settles in. As reality begins to shatter, he tries to speak. He desperately screams that he did everything possible to save them all. But the cold voice mocks his efforts and calls him a failure. Did you truly try, it asks, before he can even speak. Before he can speak, shadows of his past creep in. They blame him for everything. His old teacher steps forward. The old man looks like a silent messenger of pure doom. Behind him stands a monk clutching a string of prayer beads. He looks ready to erase Guan Hyuk from existence. He whispers of the endless abyss, sentencing him to dark exile. The crushing weight of this 12th regression ruins his remaining sanity. The terrifying screams of his fallen allies echo through the pitch black. They curse him, screaming that he failed his ultimate mission. Finally, Guan Hyuk snaps, screaming at the top of his lungs. Tell them to shut up, he yells, sick of their weak excuses. Suddenly, a glowing vision breaks through the bloody fog of his mind. It is Haeungi, his beloved elder sister, shining through the dark. She was the only person who ever truly believed in him. Seeing her face tears his heart open, he reaches for her. But she fades away as the grasping hands of the dead pull him down. He is trapped in a loop of flashing numbers and endless deaths. He cries out that he never wanted any of this to happen. But the universe does not care. Now watch, everything changes here. A sudden, heavy knock on the door violently pulls him back to reality. He wakes up in a cold, sterile room, gasping for breath. A voice outside announces an inspection, warning that the next phase starts soon. He slowly steps into a dim, lifeless corridor smelling of cold metal. A nervous scientist in thick glasses walks beside him, looking extremely pale. He mutters anxiously about the massive increase in containment targets. He explains that they have lost access to the Morpheus avatar. This is a massive blow to humanity's final line of defense. Even the veteran staff members look ready to completely give up. Guan Hyuk sighs, knowing that if Sigmund were alive, they wouldn't fail. The scientist quickly apologizes, sweating under the heavy pressure. Because if Sigmund were alive, it would mean total doom for everyone. Guan Hyuk ignores the remark, calmly promising to expand the facilities soon. The staff begin to whisper the moment Guan Hyuk steps away. He looks too exhausted to be the hero who conquered Babel. Yet his icy glare still terrifies them to their very core. He was not the typical hero they expected, even with his teammates losing their minds. Guan Hyuk stayed fully locked in to protect what remained of the world. A blond man begs the staff to let him out, terrifying the evil scientist. The peaceful silence instantly shatters as an alarm goes off, signaling disaster in the west. The defense is collapsing, and a soldier runs up to Guan Hyuk with the news. Desperate reports flood in, showing that California and the American West are falling. The darkness is swallowing everything, and the situation is turning absolutely critical. The East Coast faces the exact same threat of total annihilation, and Guan Hyuk realizes that his single moment of hesitation allowed the dark encroachment to spread. Across the Pacific, he blames himself for being weak when it mattered most, but he is ready to fix his mistakes, refusing to wait for orders from helpless leaders anymore. Out in the field, his brutal clash with Haeungi finally ends. With her beaten and buried under the rubble, whispering that she always believed in him, even as her soul begins to fade from this world, she looks up and confesses her love, breathing her last by his blade. Guan Hyuk, weeping bitterly, stares at the sky. A new, terrifying danger threatens to destroy everything. The final dungeon, Babel, looms ahead. It looks like an absolute nightmare. Descending into the dark tower of the Demon King, the air grows heavy. An overwhelming pressure fills the room. The real battle begins now. At the center of it all, the Demon King laughs and declares that this is the end of the line. He mocks the legendary tyrant of the 12 divine thrones, knowing that Guan Hyuk is the only true threat left. As the strongest and last remaining hunter, he stands alone against a villain who believes he can simply steal his power. The monster's sheer arrogance is Off the charts, but he has absolutely no idea what is coming next. Suddenly, the boss realizes another challenger is still standing. In the arena, leaving him utterly confused, he glares down at the young girl Haeungi, wondering what a child could possibly achieve now that her protector is out of the picture, and honestly this guy's ego is just wild. He fails to notice the lethal strike coming from his immediate blind spot. Guan Hyuk drives his blade straight through his chest, dealing a massive, crippling blow. The Demon King reels in total shock, wondering how a mere human pierced his ultimate defense. Guan Hyuk simply sighs, mocking the boss for letting his guard down like an amateur. The wounded villain tries to laugh it off. But before he can move, a giant magic circle erupts beneath him, trapping him in a perfect seal, and calls forth the legendary chains of Gleipnir to activate his divine Zeus avatar, unlocking absolute god mode. The cornered Demon King begins to lose his mind, screaming in fury at the thought of a mere human standing against his absolute power. But Guan Hyuk just calls him a warm-up as lightning vaporizes the surrounding ruins. The boss is completely overwhelmed by holy light and divine bindings, his power utterly shattered. Yet despite this incredible strike, Guan Hyuk is feeling the intense strain, knowing the boss is far from finished. He silently thanks Haeungi for her perfect shield timing, which saved his life. But even with victory close, the heavy shadow of his past remains. The stress finally eats away at him as Ha Yonchi screams, blaming him for every single ally they lost along the way. She demands to know why he is so obsessed with slaying the stupid Demon King. He remembers 13 regressions, a brutal cycle of endless torture that would make any other hunter give up forever. Every single run ended the exact same way, total ruin. And the monsters are only half of it. The real nightmare starts afterward. A massive war always breaks out between the newly awakened and normal humans. Some absolute psycho always tries to fuse everyone's consciousness to build a heaven. Sounds like a complete scam. Ju Jeonghyuk has seen it all. Traumatized hunters, stealthy assassins in shadows, and powers running absolutely wild. He recalls a 10-year-old child thrown straight into the tower at just 8 years old, and grandparents desperately trying to shield their helpless grandson during a completely botched raid. No matter who wins or who loses, this world always ends up completely destroyed. Every single timeline is a dead end. This endless hopelessness has pushed Ju Jeonghyuk right to the edge of madness. He realizes that to actually save the world, he must delete everything: the Demon King's army, the greedy hunters, and even his own allies. He is going to slaughter every last one of them to shatter this loop. Suddenly, the Demon King strikes, dropping Ha Yonchi in a single brutal blow. The desperate fight rages on as the beast laughs at Ju Jeonghyuk, mocking him for claiming to beat the Lord of Demons 6 times. But Jeonghyuk drops some meta-knowledge, mentioning the Spear of Longinus and supreme godlike avatars like the Usura King. The monster freezes in terror because there is absolutely no way he should know about those legendary items yet. Ju Jeonghyuk just sneers, reminding the beast that he already won 6 times. In his earlier runs, the Demon King actually grins, thrilled to have found a rival who can finally match him, but Ju Jeonghyuk is totally done. With the endless talking and nonsense, he is ending this run right now. Exactly how he wants, even if everyone goes down in flames together. He wants to see if this nightmare finally breaks or if he must burn the world down again. Rewind to the early 2010s, where the world begins to crumble before our story even begins. This arrogant demon villain starts trash-talking like some generic, low-tier boss. Massive ego, promising to completely wipe the entire human species from existence. He demands they cower in fear right before getting completely destroyed. A colossal beam of light strikes, and suddenly over 2,888 dungeons tear open across the globe. Savage monsters start advancing out of the portals, and the local military forces are actually debating whether a lawsuit is more dangerous than an actual invasion. They finally open fire, but their weapons deal absolutely zero damage against these high-level monsters. The human army is instantly shredded, losing all their escape routes and drowning in absolute despair. But right when it looks like the end of humanity, the world's hunters finally arrive to save the day, summoning ancient godlike spirits to unleash incredible power. Save the day, These hunters use avatars as their second selves, manifesting them as these high-dimensional legends and gods stepped in, granting humanity the ultimate survival buffs. Yet after the Stage 1 tutorial is finally cleared, the world is left cooked with 1.1 billion casualties. Suddenly, Archangel Metatron enters the lobby with a grand request. Meant for all of humanity, she is honestly a total queen on screen, explaining that angels can only place so many restrictions on the invaders. Before the situation collapses, just like that, a brand new quest drops. The chosen hunters must scale the Tower of Babel and eliminate the Demon King. If they fail to clear the final floor within 20 years, it means permanent erasure for their entire dimension. The angels do promise to back their grind, offering insanely powerful blessings from high-dimensional gods. Cut to a dungeon raid, where the backline magic units are completely failing to deal any damage. Their firepower does absolutely nothing to the mobs. The main tank screams for proper support before the monsters wipe the entire raid party. Everyone is screaming, desperately wishing they could log out of reality because no one wants to die. In a tutorial zone like absolute amateurs, amidst all this chaos, one guy is lying on the dirt, getting roasted for taking a casual nap during a boss fight. Meet Guan Hyuk, a 200-year-old veteran currently on his 13th regression. Even lying down, his heavy aura completely dominates the room. He is casually analyzing the battlefield, thanking a teammate for taking the monster's aggro, so he did not get crushed. The other hunters shout frantic orders, wondering what on earth Gong Hyuk is even doing. Yongi tells them to leave him alone, arguing he is probably too traumatized to fight. Meanwhile, Gong Hyuk decides a smoke break. Right after regressing is the ultimate power move to calm his nerves. He checks the system screen and sees their opponent is a ferocious minotaur, but notes its strength is barely E rank. To him, this beast is a minor challenge at best. He notices their frontline is down to 7 members, proving they have absolute zero coordination and are about to wipe. A 19-year-old named Ha Yongi, blessed by Miko goddess avatar, rushes to his side, deeply worried for his safety. She screams at him to retreat to the backline before the beast turns him into a pancake. Another desperate teammate begs for his aid, only to realize this madman is casually smoking right in the middle of battle. Gong Hyuk just looks up, telling the monster to wait 2 minutes until he finishes his cigarette. The other hunters think he has lost his mind or has a death wish, but Gong Hyuk is simply built different. He knows his current low-level stats will not let him dodge the beast on reflex alone, so he decides to read its movements with pure prediction. Stepping into the danger zone, he targets the monster's face while it is busy roaring for attention. He slashes the massive beast within seconds, making the fatal strike look completely effortless. He laughs at the creature's pathetic struggles, knowing his seasoned experience is going to end this clash. Seconds, he mocks the minotaur for exposing its neck so foolishly and promises to sever its head for being completely weak. He calls the surrounding monsters total small fries, wondering why the others struggle against low-tier mobs. Suddenly, something catches his eye from the corner, making his jaw drop. The tension spikes to critical levels as Guan Hyuk casually catches the minotaur's giant limb like it is a minor strike. He does not. He refuses to let any skill issue stop his grind, diving straight back into danger. Zero hesitation. He buries his blade deep in the monster's hide, telling the beast to stop struggling like an NPC because its allies are next. The minotaur lets out a final screen-shaking roar before its character model is completely deleted from existence. Right after, the raid contribution screen pops up and it shows an absolute blowout by Guan Hyuk, with an 82% damage share. He secures the Hornbreaker title and a rare one-hit kill skill coin. Meanwhile, the other members look like absolute background assets as the rewards drop, but the heavy toll of the fight is starting to make him look low-key cooked. Guan Hyuk's knee suddenly buckles and he realizes his leg is completely ruined. From the intensity of the boss raid, regular recovery magic is heavily nerfed against this level of injury, and he feels his movement speed dropping. Just when things look grim, young AI rushes over with that absolute ride-or-die energy. To save her big brother, she activates her Flower of Healing skill. Deeply desperate for his safety, tears stream down her face as she cries about how she cannot face the kids at the orphanage if their leader gets permanently deleted. Her unique flower magic starts buffing his health bar, but her emotional panic is clearly through the roof. Guan Hyuk wakes up and hits the girl with his cold stare, asking why she is worrying about orphans. Before his own recovery, he notes she is a pure child from his past. Bringing a wholesome moment to this toxic world, he stands back on his feet, ready to deal with the lobby drama about to unfold. Park Janti, the bronze giant, tries to act like the main character by congratulating the team on the successful capture. He calls for the reward distribution, but the loot screen is filled with items that look like straight trash to anyone. With high combat standards, Guan Hyuk rejects the low-tier junk and demands the skill coin immediately. He points out they are distributing useless items while high-rarity coins are being gate-kept. He explains that skill coins are permanent power-ups that should never be wasted on low-tier players who barely contributed. This instantly causes one teammate, Park Sang-min, to completely lose his temper over his arrogance, shouting about how Guan Hyuk only took the best parts at the end of the fight, accusing him of trying to monopolize the valuables, asking if he has a wild beast living inside his body because of his feral energy. Guan Hyuk just stares him down, telling the guy his mouth is becoming a massive party debuff. The tension reaches an absolute boiling point as Park Sang-min furiously threatens to shut his mouth for good, but before this turns into a full-blown player versus player zone, Captain Jun steps in to restore some order. He actually hands over the one-hit kill coin, admitting his own greed got a bit suspicious during distribution. The captain acknowledges that Guan Hyuk's 82% contribution is completely unmatched and deserves the top tier loot. Upon receiving the coin, Guan Hyuk grabs his sister's hand and leaves. The entire exchange leaves Park Sang-min looking salty and utterly confused. Wondering why the leader is favoring a brat so heavily, Jun ignores him. Not caring about weak hunters as he follows regulations, Park Sang-min mutters. Guan Hu warns Jun that acting too cocky with mediocre skills will get his bronze head shattered. He reminds Guan Hu and Yanggi that this is a world where players will take your life for a single coin, so they must abandon their disgusting greed. With the mood completely ruined, Guan Hu decides it is time to leave the dungeon. Yanggi asks if he is truly fine with the toxic rumors spreading about his behavior. Guan Hu just hits her with an indifferent, cold stare, stating he has zero interest in playing with weaklings anyway. Then he tells her that the two of them are enough to carry the entire server, which is an absolute boss move. He lights a cigarette to enjoy it. Post-raid smoke like he just finished some legendary speedrun. Yanggi is baffled by this sudden habit, looking at him like he has developed some strange mental issue. He casually tells her she is still as cute as ever, which flusters her, though they are not related by blood. But the mood turns dark, showing that Guan Hu is still playing a completely different game from everyone else. Looking at her, he quietly wonders when he will have to eliminate her from this world. In this timeline too, this 13th regression is already a no-mercy run, and Guan Hu is ready to kill anyone in his way. Serum Academy is looking like a low-tier playground today. A few kids are flexing Avatar Icarus as if it is some legendary skin, while a girl warns them about the resident queen's fury. Speak of the devil, Yanggi shows up looking like she is about to delete their fun permanently. The punks call her a gang granny, which is a major insult since she is only 19. She is not taking that slander lightly, lunging at them with aggressive energy. They scramble away immediately, not wanting to face her wrath even with Icarus. Meanwhile, Guan Hu is locked in his room, staring at a status window that looks like a glitching terminal, calculating the toll of his 13th regression, and the numbers are honestly depressing. He spent hundreds of years in this brutal loop trying to save humanity from total deletion. His mental strength is currently at -50, which is an absolute disaster. Guan Hu sighs, looking like he has reached his absolute human limit. He fears this run might be his final chance before the system closes for good, and the burnout is real. He pulls out his stack of 82 purple coins, which is an incredibly massive hoard. Most players would waste these on average upgrades, but Guan Hu is aiming for the endgame meta. Checking the hidden potential of his avatar observer, he knows the odds are terrible. You never truly know what skills you will get until you begin gambling with experience. After 13 regressions, he already knows the drill. He knows the smartest move is to dump everything into a single stat to overpower the system. From those 82 coins, he gets a whopping 32 million points. He confirms, pouring all 32 million worth of those points into a single stat. The window instantly starts spamming level up notifications like a crowded chat room. He wonders what kind of expression Yongi would make if she saw him burning a fortune on Observer. He hits level 9, unlocking a synchronization option that feels like a weaponized expansion. The Observer avatar initiates a deep synchronization, acting like a high-speed download for his brain. Guanho commands it to read his data. Ready to yoink the secrets of his future selves, he catches a glimpse of his future self inside the memory bank, and the aura is unlimited. There is zero time for talking because the synchronization hits its final phase and the screen turns completely white. A forced awakening notification pops up, instantly expanding his original form. Like a giant squeezing into a tiny apartment, his potential is confirmed. And he is ready to calculate the future with zero lag. 2 new extra skills drop into his inventory: prediction and enemy search. He has basically turned on wall hacks and automatic dodge at the same time, making the upcoming battle look easy. The map expands, displaying every hidden enemy as a red marker. Like he is playing a tactical shooter. He has reached his awakening limit for now, and the atmosphere is completely incredible. Guanho finishes his grind and walks out. Thinking his progress is going quite well, he is moving with supreme confidence, unaware that some hostile players are about to ambush him. Outside, a group of salty hunters are complaining about how Guanho hogged all the loot. They are calling him a bastard because they cannot handle being completely outplayed by a solo carry. One of them is ready to crash out, claiming he is going to end Guanho right now. They are underestimating the guy who soloed a giant minotaur, showing a major lack of awareness. They think an ambush will work because anyone would be finished if they got jumped while sleeping. They are planning to steal his skill coins and Altef for his life before the next dungeon even starts. The leader of this trash squad flexes his avatar predation, looking to farm some player experience points. He is hoping to devour Guanho and steal his skills, with which he can finally hit that B- rank status he has been desperately chasing. Out of nowhere, the group gets blindsided as Guanho strikes a guy in the stomach. Guanho complains that human has way too little muscle to be satisfying to stab, a wildly suspicious comment mid-fight. Another hunter attacks and mocks Guanho, calling him petty thief, telling him that while he has guts, his build is too weak. Guanho coolly suggests the guy go to a sumo stable if he wants to flex his weight like that. Guanho reminds them that while regression severely nerfed his peak physical stats, his precision is still S tier. He starts handing out heavy losses with surgical precision that leaves the attackers completely finished. His situational judgment and combat instincts are absolutely legendary. Watching him work is amazing. He boldly declares that in a human battle he is unbeatable, leaving the gankers wondering what kind of absolute monster they just poked. The gang captain realizes his team is getting totally destroyed and steps up with his own avatar. He summons Ungallant, which looks more like a giant boss monster than a hunter's ability. Guanho stares at the horror, noting that the creature is not even an avatar anymore. It is a high-level monster. The captain screams for it to tear Guanho to shreds, and the entire atmosphere turns blood red. These low-tier villains think they can just walk into Guanho's turf and ambush him like it is a tutorial mission. The leader screams for his pet monster to tear Guanho to pieces, but Guanho is already completely locked in and ready to handle these non-player characters. He does not even not a single flinch. He just triggers his observer skill, tapping the prediction interface to read their movements before they even start. Tactical blue overlays coat the entire room while the system lady floods him with data. In under a second, the scan is done. Guan Hyuk easily sees right through their clumsy basic tactics. This so-called ultimate attack is just a simple forward lunge that any pro player could easily dodge. Absolutely cooked, Guan Hyuk casually glides past every single strike. He laughs and dares these low-tier goons to attack from any angle they want because he has got an overwhelming, godlike power. One terrified goon screams out that this is impossible, completely losing his mind as their perfect ambush fails so badly. Time for payback. Guan Hyuk delivers a brutal counterstrike that sends the mutated beast crashing into the dirt, looking completely pathetic and entirely irrelevant. Guan Hyuk stands over the mess with a terrifying, cold look, asking why. They even bother trying to act like main characters. He admits that from their perspective he might be a murderer, but he is just clearing out trash. The boss sneers that his arrogant talking ends here, but our hero instantly vanishes, moving far too fast for their pathetic eyes to follow. Or track, he reappears right behind them, calmly holding a sword that is supposed to be totally nerfed in the current meta. He casually wonders aloud why such a useless, garbage weapon is even floating around among humans, suspecting some highly shady business going on, but before they can even react, he activates his master weapon skill and turns the entire room into a blazing, chaotic inferno. Goons drop like flies while Guan Hyuk emerges as the lone survivor walking through the burning smoke. He notes that the bronze giant known as Park Gentai is still playing dead on the floor. Guan Hyuk knows the coward used his bronze transformation to absorb the impact, but his overall energy is completely shattered. Guan Hyuk roasts him relentlessly, revealing he knows their entire cheap, low-level plan to cheat their way to victory. They wanted to kill Guan Hyuk and the queen, then blame the bald hunter to keep their own record clean. He asks if Gentai is completely blind as well, since he did not see this beating coming. Gentai begins to shake violently, talk about instant regret, realizing he is dealing with a player on a completely different level. Guan Hyuk exposes him as a mere grunt from a secret guild called the Giants. He orders the terrified thug to deliver a message to his bosses. It is simple. The cheap trash who sell their souls for small rewards will meet a pathetic end. Guan Hyuk adds that he absolutely hates rats who try to manipulate the system instead of actually playing the game. To drive the point home, he tortures the villain with a little fire, making him scream out in pain. Guan Hyuk calmly lights a cigarette, looking terrifying with blood splattered all over his face. Turns out the giant's eye was not made of metal after all. But the damage is already done. He forces him to repeat the message word for word, making sure the giants know exactly who is coming for their top spots. Once the brutal lesson is learned, he tells the broken thug to crawl away. Before he decides to end him right here, a system notification suddenly flashes. Defending against the murderous gang, he clears the hidden Academy mission, unlocking the Soul Man-to-Man achievement and acquiring the title Duelist on the Line of Death, a massive buff for his collection. He takes one last cigarette puff because he is just that guy. In the middle of an orc dungeon raid, things are already going completely south. An orc warrior gets absolutely smashed by a perfectly timed strike, looking like a helpless NPC lost in some high-speed run. The green-skinned target is reeling from the blow while the party celebrates their easy victory. The orc realizes he is completely cooked and starts waving the white flag. He is begging for mercy, promising to behave and never attack another human again. He starts bowing down, desperately hoping Guan Hyuk will show some pity, but Guan Hyuk is not here for the flattery or the fake tears. He stares at the beast and decides to drop a riddle, completely mocking the monster's tiny brain before the final strike. The orc is totally confused, trying to find some logic. As Guan Hyuk summons his unlimited aura, he asks what is red and explodes in exactly 1 second, leaving the beast trying to process with his dumb brain. Before the orc can even answer, Guan Hyuk triggers his instant death skill, a top-tier skill activation that lets the beast know his life subscription has just expired. The punchline is cold. It is the orc's own head. The blow lands, and the system flashes victory as the monster's entire character is officially deleted. The entire orc squad gets totally spawn killed as level up notifications start absolutely spamming the screen. Yongi is standing back, completely shook by this insane display of raw power. She wonders if that brutal violence was overkill for a few basic starter monsters. But Guan Hyuk does not care, stating these monsters were already destined for the trash. He lights up a post-raid smoke while the dungeon loot drops. Yongi is deeply worried for his safety, but also low-key terrified of his freezing cold personality. He starts checking out his new skills. Now he has activated the Mind's Eye. Yongi asks him to return to Suram Academy since the mission is finally over, but Guan Hyuk drops the cold truth. They cannot go back today. A red portal glows under Youngi's feet as she realizes what is happening. The dungeon is calling. This is the call of the Tower of Babel. Out of nowhere, the dungeon summons thousands of awakened players. So far, the survivor count is exactly 0. The Archangel watches her orb, realizing that this is already the 7th call. Her subordinate Azel promises to mold the summoned into perfect humans. The Archangel agrees, yet a heavy sense of deja vu hits her. Back with Guan Hyuk, he vows to save the world this time, no matter the cost. Youngi wakes up inside the dungeon as Guan Hyuk gives her a basic tutorial. She looks around at the other awakened people, but one thing bugs her mind: the performance at Babel should have hundreds of humans, but here there are barely any. Guan Hyuk explains that the dungeon is divided into sectors, scattering everyone across the map. The higher you climb, the fewer people you see. Youngi wonders what to do next, as this seems like the perfect time to. As a random guy explains the dungeon lore, Guang Hai knows the real event is starting. Suddenly, a demon crashes through the floor with a massive aura. The beast introduces himself as Christy, a proud servant of the Demon King. He is here to guide them through the first floor's tutorial. First, Christy drops rule number 1. Every player gets ranked on their hunting performance. The score system is revealed. Standard kills grant 10 points each. Bosses yield 300 points. Clearing the entire dungeon offers a massive 1,000 experience boost, but there is a catch: it is a total vibe killer. Fail to make the top 50 in 3 weeks and they get executed. One arrogant hunter starts losing his mind. He screams at Christy to back off. He tries to flex. He threatens to crush the demon with their sheer numbers. The loudmouth demands to leave the lobby, acting like he has the leverage to negotiate. But Christy does not even move. He simply targets the loudmouth with a blast. The arrogant hunter is instantly obliterated by the point-blank attack. His body crumbles to dust right in front of the terrified crowd. Trust me, nobody is treating this like a game anymore. It is a brutal survival run. Guan Hyuk stares silently at Christy, who is ranked number 2 in the Demon King's army. Obviously, running your mouth in front of such an overpowered demon is a terrible idea. So Guan Hyuk greets Christy respectfully. Meanwhile, the floor is suddenly covered in gold coins. It looks exactly like a bugged loot drop. People scramble for the cash immediately. Then, Rule 2 drops. Upon death, you lose 20% of your current gold. The crowd goes wild. They fight over the coins like desperate shoppers at a chaotic Black Friday sale. Greedy players snatch everything in sight while others watch in pure disgust. One guy even threatens another player for his share, but Christy steps in. The demon stops them. Rule 3 flashes on screen to prevent a total bloodbath. For the first 2 weeks, killing other players in the village is strictly forbidden. The system is essentially enforcing a strict safe zone for the server. This prevents early wipeouts. These 2 weeks are meant for players to get stronger. They must train hard and turn themselves into something worthwhile. Christy mocks them, calling it pathetic that they celebrate a comrade's death. To entertain himself, Christy decides to offer a special service. He calls it noblesse oblige, threatening to shred the richest player for the points. Kali glances at Guang Hai, since he clearly has the biggest bag of coins. But before Christy can strike, a sudden flash of brilliant light fills the room. The angel Azel descends with majestic, heavenly power to put the demon in his place. Azel declares Rule 4, confirming these cosmic beings are currently just quest guides. They cannot harm humans directly, nor can they force them to act. The angel warns Christy to do his job properly. The crowd is stunned by the sheer aura radiating from both sides. Christy sulks at the lost entertainment. But he is glad the yapping is finally over. The final rule drops. Demons and angels will offer distinct quests and achievements. Humans have the freedom to choose their faction, turning this into a massive role-playing game. To survive, they must struggle and power up as quickly as possible. Christy begins praising humanity's endless potential, claiming that their journey. The stronger they get, the more that entity's power grows. He just laughs, telling everyone they must fight to survive, but instead the panicked crowd just begs for their dead friend's revival, only to get a cold, brutal rejection. They all yap at once. Where is the food, water, and monsters? Total amateurs. Azel desperately begs them to calm down and speak one by one. Guan Hyuk hates this brain rot and tells Youngi, it is time to move. loitering in the lobby is just a massive waste of prime farming time. Soon they reach the goblin garrison on the first floor. It is a total bone zone of skulls and defensive towers. The goblins spot them and immediately crash out, screaming to arm themselves. Guan Hyuk steps in, radiating absolute raw power. He moves like an absolute cheat code. One strike and the goblins realize this human is a monster. Then he calmly asks them to die quietly. He is here to speedrun. The goblins scream for mercy as Guan Hyuk slices through them like they are useless background props. He mocks the weak small fry while racking up the kills. A crossbow bolt flies past, but Guan Hyuk dodges it effortlessly. The shooter is shook. Is this guy even human? Yangi jumps in next, unleashing her own incredible combat skills. She clears her side of the map easily, while her brother wipes out the rest. Suddenly his trusty baseball bat breaks in half. Its durability hits 0. The weapon is completely ruined, so he tosses the trash aside. Yangi is in awe of his strength. He is absolutely cracked, but Guan Hyuk just shrugs it off. No big deal. He tells her to hurry with the loot. Yangi asks why they are rushing. Guan Hyuk explains the plan. Only 3 of the 7 dungeons actually matter for top loot. He wants the Great Temple of Thoth, the Hellgate Labyrinth, and the sewer dungeon, specifically a hidden sewer room called Pezerin's Cradle. They must secure it before other players try to steal it. This makes Yangi highly suspicious. Who is this man really? Honestly, you can't blame her for snapping, demanding to know what he did to her brother. She is having a total mental breakdown over this sudden personality shift. The brother she knew was a gentle coward. Now he is a cold strategist who acts like he has already read the wiki for the apocalypse. She confronts him directly, demanding to know who hijacked his brain. Does he even remember their childhood? Their shared trauma at the orphanage. A quick flashback reveals a simpler, peaceful time before the world fell into chaos. Back then, she always insisted on standing next to Guan Hyuk in every group photo. It was incredibly clingy, but that sisterly devotion, unfortunately, made her the target of a vicious local bully named Chino. The kid had 0 empathy, and now Yangi still refuses to believe this is her brother, suspecting a deep fake. Guan Hyuk, however, drops a massive truth bomb, claiming that he saw visions of the future 20 years from now, while they were in the just a side effect. Guan Hyuk explains the weird power of his observer avatar. This unique power allows him to experience the upcoming patch notes of their lives firsthand. Witnessing the end of the world naturally ruined his once gentle soul. He is way more cynical now, so she wonders. Yangai wonders how a simple observer gets the absolutely insane power to peek at endgame content. Even so early in the run, Guan Hyuk reveals a dark vision. The very first thing he ever saw was Yangai getting absolutely crushed by the Minotaur. His observer showed him this tragedy specifically to push him to protect her. He needed that push to protect her with pure main character energy. Guan Hyuk reminds her of his old promise to always act as her ultimate, unbreakable shield. He intends to keep that vow, even if he fights every monster in Babel. Yangai is deeply moved, her eyes quickly filling with tears of pure relief and joy. She tearfully apologizes, but Guan Hyuk is playing a completely different game. His inner thoughts reveal he is still the ultimate king of lies. Her intuition is dangerously sharp, forcing him to spin completely brand new stories for her. He has to make up brand new lies for every single of his 13 regressions. Toxic manipulation at its finest, but hey, it actually works. 14. For now, their sibling bond is restored. 2 days later, they enter a completely new area. They are deep inside a sewer dungeon that smells absolutely putrid. The damp tunnels are crawling with rats, leaving Yangai totally disgusted. Meanwhile, Guan Hyuk remains highly focused on finding a very specific hidden piece of legendary loot. He activates his observer avatar and scans using the mind's eye skill. Scanning the filth, he searches for a secret interaction point and finally finds it. He spots a hidden cradle and spends 3 navy coins to open it. A pretty solid investment. Suddenly, a bright divine light erupts and fills the place. The glow fills the filthy sewer. A gateway to elite shopping is now open. Yangai realizes something. Being with her brother always means a lot of sequence breaking. She should probably stop being surprised by his constant sequence breaking. Guan Hyuk opens a special shop accessible only to hunters with level 1 authority. The screen reveals elite items that would make any rookie hunter go crazy. High-tier options like Zephyrus and Thor are there, but they are expensive. Pay to win, Guan Hyuk explains that this is the legendary Pezzerin Cradle, a secret chamber built to turn the richest hunters into absolute legends. He quickly trades 1,500 purple coins for 6 navy coins. That is a massive grind, but he has a specific plan. Guan Hyuk looks at a recommended avatar for young guy called Yue Zhou. It costs 5 coins, and young guy wonders if she can equip 2 avatars. But her brother quickly explains that she is currently slot blocked by the main game system. He warns her to save her money and calls the Yue Zhou avatar trash. Apparently, her current observer avatar is actually far superior to other choices. In fact, it is actually time to give his sister a massive and powerful balance patch. Guan Hyuk purchases a Stone of Evolution for 10 navy coins. Getting ready to boost her power, he reflects on all potential evolution paths. He remembers past choices like the Farseer and the Debugger. Each path would easily let her break the system, but he already knows his choice. She picks the absolute most ambitious option on the board, the Game Master. The Observer transforms. Its character model updates with the authority to rewrite every single server rule. This avatar grants an authority expansion, basically a divine cheat code. It is like having the admin password. Guan Hyuk watches the energy surge. He smirks, knowing his sister is about to become a target. The tower's gods will hate this. Meanwhile, the dungeon floor smells horrific, like a century of rotting garbage and unwashed gym socks. Only Guan Hyuk and Yanggi made it to the boss room lobby. Standing before the final gate, they meet King Lei's, a massive red-eyed rodent. He has got an impossibly massive jawline for a rodent. The beast glares at the duo like a cheap boss trying to defend his territory. But he instantly starts trash-talking. He is completely baffled that only 2 players dare to challenge him. Clearly, he is totally underestimating Guan Hyuk's absolute monster of an aura. Guan Hyuk is already bored out of his mind by the weak dialogue. He tells the oversized pest to stop zoning out and fight. Offended by the sheer disrespect, the rat looks ready to crash out. The beast swings an iron whip, launching an absolutely devastating attack. It is a move that could easily wipe out an entire rookie team. Guan Hyuk knows blocking it would still leave him with painful chip damage, so he stays focused. He pulls off a frame-perfect dodge, moving faster than the giant rodent can track. Realizing this human is no joke, the rodent switches up his tactics. Yanggi complains she can't see a thing through the thick poison fog. Using the smog as cover, the rat lunges straight for Guan Hyuk. Quickly identifying the toxin, Yanggi uses her avatar to cleanse the air. Guan Hyuk mocks the beast to come get some. Yanggi fires her crossbow. The bolt distracts the rat, giving Guan Hyuk the perfect opening to strike. He triggers his one-hit kill skill, landing the final blow. The rat's ghost appears. The spirit praises their battle prowess, but warns they are still too weak. They cannot conquer Babel like this, but Guan Hyuk uses his mind's eye. Spotting the phantom shocks the boss. How can a human see a ghost? The defeated king begins to share his lore. 400 years ago, Pezzerin was peaceful until dungeons suddenly began appearing everywhere. That marked the birth of hunters and the brutal invasion of monsters. He and 6 other heroes climbed Babel to protect Pezzerin but failed. Defeated and broken, their entire world was absorbed right into the dungeon. The Rat King they just beat was merely a copy of the original Les. The citizens of Pezzerin became raw material to build more monsters. They are all trapped in Babel, which still consumes countless dimensions today. This means if these players end up losing their fight here, Earth will be swallowed up next. Guan Hyuk cut the long speech short. The system screen flashes. They just earned a white coin as a reward. Guan Hyuk immediately offers this rare coin to his avatar to power up. With his new avatar slot set, Guan Hyuk secures the achievement and moves on. The ghost notes they are the first people he has seen in 400 years. He promises to lend them his strength so they can conquer Babel together. This nets the duo another powerful skill along with a free avatar. But Guan Hyuk just walks away because he has no use for trash avatars. Yanggi tries to negotiate, but Guan Hyuk quickly drags her away. The Rat King screams for them to return. 4 days pass since the summons. The server-wide summons to Babel has left the first-floor village in chaos. Everyone is acting like desperate fanboys waiting for some legendary gamer girl merch. They scurry around like clueless newbies trying to figure out the starting meta. While Azel helps players with their registrations, a hooded Yongi quietly approaches her. Yongi asks to register for the rankings, but demands to remain completely anonymous. Azel compliments her mysterious aura, leaving Yongi stunned by the results. She has landed in second place. Right then, a special blessing notification appears. The system grants her a massive experience buff for her elite performance. This legendary rank immediately draws a crowd of curious men to her. They demand to know which guild she belongs to since she runs solo. They press her to show her face, leaving Yongi panicking in the crowd. Her cover is about to blow. From above, Guan Hyuk watches. Realizing how stupid it was to send her alone, he prepares to use his powers. He forcefully injects his own insane rank to distract the creeps from Yongi. Suddenly, the screen flashes. A new ranker has appeared. The player base is completely stunned by the sheer size of the numbers. This mysterious player X has over 10,000 points, which is mathematically impossible. That is physically impossible, Yongi bolts. Confused players confront Azel, demanding to know if the system is broken. She confirms the data is perfectly clean with no signs of tampering. But the player behind the score is a complete anomaly. Administrators investigate further. They scan the registration data with absolute intensity, searching for any minor exploit. They find a compromised bypass, but the required power level is completely off-grid. From the shadows, Guan Hyuk watches the growing panic with a smirk. He is absolutely loving the sight of these elite hunters losing their minds. Total meltdown over a fake score. Yongi notices the entire crowd staring at the screen in pure disbelief. With everyone thoroughly distracted, she seizes her chance and quietly slips away. She bolts through the village, searching for a quiet alley to escape her pursuers. Instead, she stumbles upon a heavily bleeding man collapsed against a wall. Even in a rush, she cannot ignore someone in such a terrible state. He looks like he was trampled by a beast and then crushed again. The poor monk has seen better days, looking completely pulverized after a brutal fight. Yongi instinctively steps up to heal him, but Guan Hyuk's warning echoes in her head. Revealing her true strength in public is a surefire way to get targeted. Before she can decide, a bald, scarred man named Igor suddenly approaches them. He enters the scene with the incredibly creepy and overbearing energy of an absolute menace. He is hunting for quick coins and targets the defenseless monk as easy prey. He looks for mobs to farm, but Igor lands a brutal strike, spraying blood across the dirt. The crowd realizes Igor dropped to 6th rank and is taking his anger out on weaker targets. Other hunters run. They want absolutely nothing to do with him. They want no part of Igor's legendary toxic behavior and warn everyone nearby. Getting involved is a guaranteed loss, leaving Yongi completely alone with him. The scarred predator mocks a bleeding monk, telling him he is already finished. He demands his loot before turning his dangerous gaze right toward Yongi. He thinks he found a quick 2-for-1 deal for easy coins. But Yongi activates her D-rank psychokinesis skill, slamming Igor down. He hits the dirt with the brutal force of a failing grade on a final exam. Pinned flat, but then, like an absolute queen, she offers some help. She hands the monk a healing potion while Igor cannot move. He lags, but Yongi stands over him with completely cold eyes. Her terrifying power makes the surrounding air feel heavy, almost like an impending ban is coming. She warns him that resisting is useless and suggests he try living a more serious life. He should stop acting like a griefer. She mocks his rank. She treats him like a basic tutorial mob who is not even worth her time. Igor is tilted, swearing he will hunt her down. He vows to end her run, but Yongi ignores the yapping and walks away. She figures this world might actually be a win if she can handle trash like him. Meanwhile, the bleeding monk happily accepts Yongi's offering as the scene shifts. We move to the outskirts, right to Igor's hideout. Igor arrives home and screams for his partner, Jacob, ready to start his revenge. He is totally obsessed with tracking down Yongi and putting her in her place. He finds the place cleared out. Jacob lies unconscious. Igor panics, instantly realizing that someone has already broken into his private lobby. Not only that, they are spawn camping his front door. We get a close-up of a smirking Guan Hyuk, who already infiltrated the base. He waits in the shadows, ready to show Igor a real 13th regression meta. Igor notices the massive amount of weapons used to take down his poor friend. He stands there wondering how many weapons this guy carries. Was this the work of a single master or an entire group? He vows vengeance. They will pay. Lost hunters wander the forest. They look like a bunch of lost NPCs, complaining about their terrible direction. They argue back and forth while hoping to find some weak mobs to farm. They want quick experience but stumble upon a cabin. They wonder if they accidentally found a private lobby belonging to a top ranker. Suddenly, one recalls the name Igor, realizing they just walked into dangerous territory. Tension reaches an extreme level as Igor steps out. He looks like he is about to permanently delete their lives right here. He slowly begins listing his tools of the trade: a hammer, spear, sword, and axe. Igor is officially crashing out, accusing them of trying to raid his hideout. How dare they attack while he was away? He has no time for talking. He moves in instantly to start handing out brutal defeats right away. The fight is about to start, and there's no way back for these lost souls. But he gets instantly dropped, his body hitting the floor before his teammates can even process the insane skill gap. The group is left completely traumatized, staring at their fallen ally in sheer disbelief. Igor starts screaming about vengeance, labeling the intruders as low-tier scum who have no idea who they are messing with. The actual perpetrator is watching from the sidelines, noting that in the future meta, Igor will acquire the Ripper avatar to become the ultimate raid boss. Right now, though, he just looks like a salty player with a massive ego. Guan Hyuk analyzes the current power gap, realizing that on the fourth day, no ranker is strong enough to 1 versus 4 without major consequences. He thinks Igor is being a total idiot for trying to flex this hard so early in the run. He is secretly curious about how the server will react when a low-rank hunter eventually takes down a ranker. It will turn the entire lobby upside down, making those outside the top 50 start hunting rankers for sport. A few days pass and the scene shifts to the Great Temple of Thoth. Guan Hyuk and the Queen are strolling through the stone corridors, discussing the latest server gossip about a ranker getting deleted. Word on the street is that a low-ranked player took out a top-tier hunter, which Young Ai thinks is just karma for a toxic life. She has no idea she is currently walking with the man who has unlimited foresight. Guan Hyuk realizes the chaos is spreading as unranked hunters are starting to team up to target rankers instead of hunting demons. He is the one who suggested anonymous registration to avoid this exact hunt. Meta, soon they arrive at the boss room of the Great Temple of Thoth, which looks like a high-stakes raid. Guan Hyuk tells Young Ai she is on her own for the defense, essentially telling her to hold her own while he focuses on the boss. The guardian of the temple spawns in, immediately yapping about intruders defiling the temple of Raja Hudi, but Guan Hyuk is not here to chat. He activates his throwing skill, hitting the boss with a frame-perfect strike that applies poison instantly. The guardian is absolutely shocked, gasping as the basic formulated poison begins draining its health bar. Guan Hyuk knows this is the toughest boss on this floor, requiring every trick from his previous 12 runs. He starts spamming items, dropping venom spikes and a tear flare gas grenade to stack his debuffs. The guardian mocks these cheap tricks, but our main character is playing the long game. Guan Hyuk lashes out with a venom Iron Whip, a move he stole from King Lattice, hitting the boss 4 times. He asks if this Anubis wannabe feels the buzz, acting like the fight is already a guaranteed win. Guan Hyuk smirks, telling the golden doggy that it is officially walk time. He starts running around the arena, letting the poison damage build up while easily dodging every incoming strike. Suddenly, a suspicious variable appears in the form of a jackal targeting the rear guard. The beasts launch a coordinated attack on Young Ai. The boss laughs, calling Guan Hyuk a coward for abandoning his ally to save his own skin. He mockingly calls Guan Hyuk a fake hero who leaves his team to rot, but Guan Hyuk is not burdened, calmly stating he just needs to focus on the kill. He has a plan that these NPCs cannot even begin to process, and the smirk on his face says a clutch is. Pack of jackals lunges forward, but Young Sai activates her skills to wipe them all out. She remembers Guan Hyuk's tough words about protecting herself for once. But her job in this fight is to lure these jackals away so they do not interfere with Guan Hyuk's battle. Fortunately, she knows her strategy inside and out. All she has to do is dodge and buy time while the beasts chase her. This will buy Guan Hyuk valuable time against that knockoff Anubis boss. Meanwhile, the boss changes tactics, moving with an agility that completely insults physics. Suddenly, a feral jackal lunges at Yongai with insane, terrifying speed. Like someone desperately running to a charger at 1% battery, the beast closes in. Yongai screams, realizing her invisible hands are not fast enough to stop this strike. The boss mocks Guan Hyuk for abandoning his partner just to secure some extra hits. But Guan Hyuk just smirks, telling the golden mutt that everything is going perfectly. Suddenly, a system notification pops up, asking him to make a crucial choice. It asks if he wants to let a new player enter the chaotic battle. Guan Hyuk accepts with a grin that screams he is about to unleash a nightmare. Just as the jackal prepares to bite, a massive figure crashes into the temple. He slams down hard, instantly shattering the floor and making a grand entrance. A towering powerhouse stands tall, introducing himself to everyone as Sungai. He warmly thanks Yongai for the snacks and flowers she gave him earlier. It is an incredibly polite thing to say during a bloody temple massacre. Yongai recognizes him as the broken guy who looked like a human pretzel. He summons his giant Vajra Guardian avatar, who looks incredibly massive and powerful. Sungai activates his adamantine body skill, turning his physical form into solid iron. The jackal tries to take a bite out of him but fails miserably. Instead, the beast ends up with a mouthful of pure pain and regret. Sungai looks down, calling it a pitiful creature that chose the wrong target. He quickly swaps to his Spartacus avatar and triggers a massive revolution. This skill serves as a brutal eviction notice for any monster. With a single heavy blow, Sungai completely obliterates the beast on the spot. He tells the dog to sleep beyond the river of death as Yongai watches. She finally realizes that her brother's friends are just as insanely broken as he is. Sungai praises her reliability, a refreshing change from Guan Hyuk's cold, distant behavior. Guan Hyuk points out that the powerhouse has finally shown up to settle things. With his debt paid, Guan Hyuk turns his focus back to the boss. The poison damage is stacking up, heavily draining the Guardian's massive health. The beast looks incredibly weak, realizing its time in this world is almost up. Guan Hyuk calmly tells the Golden Mutt that their playtime is officially over. The monster lunges forward for one final desperate attack, but Guan Hyuk is ready. He draws his giant tiger scimitar, prepared to delete the beast from existence. Staring directly into the golden eyes of the boss, he prepares his ultimate strike. He makes it clear that the only prey in this room is getting turned into loot. The boss is completely baffled by how easily Guan Hyuk predicts every movement. Despite Guan Hyuk's lower stats, his combat instincts are operating on a godlike level. The monster realizes that basic attacks are totally useless against his foresight. Desperate for a hit, the boss decides to crank up its speed. He hopes a hyperactive pace will finally overwhelm Guan Hyuk's perfect reaction time. A high-level raid monster struggles against a level 1 twink build, the Guardian. Lunges with absolute desperation to strike, but the hero Guan Hyuk stands his ground but takes a hit, making the boss realize speed is his only key. Spam mindless attacks. From the corner, Yongi and Soma watch the chaos unfold. He wonders if they should jump in and help her brother before he gets clapped by the boss, but Guan Hyuk gave her a task. Yongi remembers their game plan. To handle the small mobs, these spawning jackals are like annoying, unwanted pop-up ads spawning endlessly as long as the boss has health. She knows that jumping into the main fight will only trigger a total party wipe. She stays locked onto her job as their dedicated crowd control specialist. Yongi looks at her brother with a level of blind trust that would make cultists jealous. She is completely sure that if anyone can survive this messy dungeon run, it is him. The Guardian spots an opening and lunges straight for the throat with supreme confidence, unaware that Guan Hyuk is actually baiting him into highly suspicious trade. The hero smirks, knowing exactly where the strike will land. He has already fully calculated the enemy's attack patterns and hit boxes. Suddenly, Guan Hyuk swaps his weapon out for a thin iron rapier. Moving with the absolute precision of a surgeon on too much coffee, he admits his own speed is trash compared to the boss' absurd mobility hacks. Get ready, at this range, neither of them has room to dodge. He lunges forward and skewers the boss like a cheap kebab on a Friday night. The impact is massive, and the boss's health bar drops faster than crypto. After a bad tweet, the hero activates his signature clean-cut skill, finishing this fight like a master chef plating a five-star meal. The system confirms the kill, and the temple guardian is officially deleted from existence. The heavy air in the room clears as the loot spawns. Guan Hyuk stands over the remains while Yangi glows with pride, her complete faith in her brother rewarded beautifully. The group stands amidst the dusty rubble, looking like they just survived some nightmare tier group project. Guan Hyuk asks why their giant tank was collapsed on the cold floor like a wet noodle. Soma admits he got tricked by Igor, and honestly, you have to feel for the guy. It seems even the strongest players can have a really bad day. Giant Tank's soft-hearted nature makes him an easy target for online trolls. He won't even speak ill of the dead, proving he is wholesome to a fault. Guan Hyuk just stares, wondering how such a massive giant can be this soft. He realizes that Soma desperately needs a leader to handle the toxic side of life. Our hero reflects on his team, noting that Yangi is the best healer humanity has. Her unique support skills are basically premium life insurance. In human form, then there is Soma, a man with incredible mental strength and absolute courage. In a previous regression, this powerhouse of a man almost sent Guan Hyuk straight to the actual graveyard. He is the missing puzzle piece and the ultimate shield for higher floors. Guan Hyuk knows that having Soma is a massive win for the meta. Our hero offers the giant a spot on the team, giving him an exclusive VIP invitation. Soma is moved to tears. Considering this offer to be the highest honor, he is ready to follow. He would follow the main character into any deadly raid without a doubt. The hero tells him to stop being so dramatic before everyone cringes. Now it is time to go and collect the actual reward for clearing this nightmare of a dungeon floor. Yang Sai is clueless, thinking the boss was the only reward. Honestly, who wouldn't think that? Guan Hyuk just smirks, knowing the true treasure is locked behind a literal divine paywall. He prepares his abilities to track down a secret developer room. Guan Hyuk activates Mind Eye. Searching for a concealed presence near the back of these ancient ruins, he detects the god of oaths and time, an absolute high-tier entity who is definitely no normal non-player character. The god Rajeptha is shocked a mere human located his secret hideout. This divine being stares down at them with an incredibly judgmental aura. The deity demands to know who the hell Guan Hyuk is, totally unaccustomed to mortal visitors. But our hero stands tall, proudly declaring his goal is to destroy the demon king at the peak. Staring the deity right in the eyes, he refuses to show fear. Rajeptha laughs aloud, mockingly calling the kid ambitious enough to be a threat. Guan Hyuk completely ignores the god's mocking tone, demanding the deity's direct help. He needs a god-tier blessing if he is going to fix the world. He waits for his answer, but the deity barely hesitates before giving Guan Hyuk a flat no thanks. He absolutely refuses to help, leaving the whole party standing there in awkward silence. It seems that even with max stats, he gets totally rejected. Talk about a brutal shutdown. God's refusal is a massive setback for their immediate plans. Rajeptha begins lecturing Guan Hyuk on morality, reminding him of all the temple guardians slaughtered to reach this chamber. He dismisses the main character as a reckless upstart, gatekeeping the ultimate questline like a bitter admin. Guan Hyuk does not flinch, mocking the deity for losing his divine power. Since the system of Babel absorbed him, he asks if Rajeptha's pride has totally rotted away, but the god calmly insists that this world's cycle is an unalterable fate. The ancient deity tries to paint his centuries of hiding inside a stone room as peaceful meditation, pure cowardice. Guan Hyuk cuts right through that weak pretense, calling this silence a totally pathetic excuse for failing to protect his own creations. Rajeptha grows tired of this debate, ordering the human to leave his quiet lobby. Talk is over, or so he thinks. But Guan Hyuk is preparing a brutal reality check that the deity simply cannot ignore. Watch this. The hunter summons a glowing projection, forcing this hermit to witness the devastating consequences of his complete inaction. He displays the horrific state of the 48th floor, where the god's chosen people are desperately fighting to survive. The recording reveals a barren wasteland where A once mighty civilization is now starving in the dirt. These people are drowning in absolute despair, weeping for a guardian deity who has essentially ghosted them for hundreds of years. Guan Hyuk points out that while the god sits in cozy isolation, his followers are being systematically wiped out. He asks if Rajeptha is truly comfortable, staying a useless bystander while his world slowly burns to ashes. The god's cool mask finally cracks as images of his dying believers burn directly into his mind. He trembles, realizing his supposed peaceful retreat was pure cowardice, betraying the people who look to him for salvation. Guan Ok points out that they bypassed the survivors, never lost hope, crying out their god's name for centuries. Trapped in an endless loop of prayer, this completely shatters Rajappa's massive pride. It exposes his retirement as a massive failure while those followers try their best to battle the beasts that crush them into dust. But even as they fight, they scream Rajappa's name, hoping their silent god will finally answer. Now Rajappa snaps with sudden fury, threatening to end Guan Hyuk's life if these insults keep coming. He is desperate to know how a weak mortal from the first floor managed to steal classified divine secrets from high up the tower. Still, Guan Hyuk keeps his chillingly calm face, refusing to let a raging god intimidate him. The young man challenges the god to verify the visions himself, knowing the deity can feel they are completely real. He offers a brand new path: leave this hollow sanctuary and truly fight for the future. He even promises to crush the demon lord, breaking the endless cycle of pain that has trapped the people of Babel for so long. Rajappa is absolutely livid, calling Guan Hyuk the most annoying human to ever stand before him. Yet the deity's resolve is finally shifting. He realizes that staying a quiet observer is no longer an option if he wants his people to survive. Meanwhile, inside the Hellgate labyrinth, some adventurers are getting absolutely wrecked by a massive shadow beast. Just as they are about to get wiped out, Guan Hyuk spawns in, completely locked and loaded. He unleashes a clean slash that cuts right through the monster instantly, destroying it. The beast vanishes into pixels. The kids are completely shocked, staring at our hero, wondering which top player just saved their lives. Guan Hyuk plays it cool, claiming he is just a passing hunter. Still, they look suspicious, asking if he is one of those rancor killers everyone is talking about in the village. Their red-haired leader thanks Guan Hyuk, explaining that her group are top 50 rankers here to clear the dungeon. Guan Hyuk asks what a rancor killer even is. She explains that certain players have ganged up on those above rank 50. It is a cruel rule, saying everyone below rank 50 ends up in the graveyard. These players do not want to die, but they lack the courage to actually level up. All of this started after Igor was defeated, but to Guan Hyuk, this is just another day. The redhead then asks why a powerhouse is running solo in such a high-level dungeon. He admits he has teammates, but did not bring them to witness the crazy skills he is about to unleash. She suggests teaming up, since the boss has a mechanic that weakens solo players. Guan Hyuk agrees, letting her lead the way while her teammates smile greedily. Knowing this fool fell for their trap, together they enter the boss room, where a massive twin-headed hound is howling in the center of the arena. Guan Hyuk is not interested. Instead, he immediately charges up a fatal slash. To end it, the beast screams as its health bar gets instantly deleted by single perfect strike. He mocks the monster, claiming to be a master at wiping out mongrels from the server. He equips the flame giant's weapon and the entire room begins to burn with intense, scorching heat. The squad is absolutely terrified, realizing this guy is actually the mysterious ranker who scored 10,000 points and is currently dominating the entire global leaderboard. They whisper in shock about how he has been solo clearing everything. He cleared dungeons while everyone else struggled back in the tutorial. Now a greedy baddie eyes his coin bag, plotting an ambush to steal his fortune. She believes all his points won't save him from a sudden backstab, especially when he is busy farming the boss. Guan Hyuk asks if they always talk. Right on cue, the giant hellhound triggers Hellfire of Damnation. This split damage skill leaves the entire squad looking completely done for. The roaring flames melt their health bars down to absolute zero. Maria suddenly realizes Guan Hyuk used them as literal human shields. He mocks them for not even prepping fire resistance, a rookie mistake. Meanwhile, his own fire resistance sits at a wild 582%. He only left his real party behind so they wouldn't witness this massacre. Now, he decides to eliminate these meat shields before they try anything funny. With a cold swing, he cuts them down amidst their screams of confusion. He brings up old lore from 44 years ago, a future betrayal. Since they have not regressed, they have no idea why they are being punished. Talk about paying for past life crimes. Behind him, the giant hellhound howls. Guan Hyuk stands victorious over the bloody remains of the elite rankers. He just proved that he is the main character, everyone else is merely loot. Standing tall with his overwhelming aura, he prepares to wrap up this battle. Meanwhile, the greedy girl is having a brutal time trapped inside the beast's jaws. Guan Hyuk effortlessly dodges a massive bite, but he's actually pretty annoyed. He wanted to take her life himself. He triggers his clean-cut skill. He moves with blinding speed to sever the monster's life force. The two-headed beast is instantly slain. Now watch the system alerts start flooding. He claims the legendary title, Massacre of the Gates of Hell. He is just built different. Scoring 100% damage share is pure dominance. He secures a heavy bag of 800 purple coins and 2 navy coins. He uses them to power his skills before looking down at the dying girl. He tells her she got exactly what she deserved, then commands his avatar. He orders his summon to feast on the dead beast. Suddenly, a woman appears. She is Liliana, a loyal servant of Christie. This is bad news. If she catches him devouring an avatar, she will try to kill him instantly. Guan Hyuk bluntly asks what she wants, but she just starts praising him. She explains that she is here to deliver his exclusive quest reward. But when she mentions the next quest, Guan Hyuk simply tells her to beat it. Offended by his rudeness, Liliana readies her magic to teach him some respect. Before she can move, Guan Hyuk orders his avatar to block all demon quests. Just like that, she is violently pulled away. Now his summon can feast. With the hound devoured, Guan Hyuk gains a powerful new skill called Ignite. He casually uses the flames to light up a cigarette, very stylish. Leaving the bodies behind, he heads to the village where Assel is talking. Assel explains that only 50 survivors will make it past the first floor. Young AI argues that plenty of hunters must be tied for those final spots. But Assel warns them of the brutal difficulty, while another hunter defends Guan Hyuk. Assel turns to Guan Hyuk, knowing he is the one who completely rigged the game. The entire ranking system and skipped registration, wondering what kind of dirty trick he will pull next. Guan Ok tells him to shut up, explaining that he is only here for the quest rewards, and he will settle for the scroll, which completely shocks Ozil. How does a mere mortal know about their secret item? Standing up to him, he demands to know how much he knows about Babel. Then, the descent into the 5th floor of the sewer dungeon turns into pure chaos. A massive, named monster known as the Grand Worm bursts from the darkness, instantly shattering the silence with a deafening screech echoing through the pipes. The sheer power of its entrance sends filthy water and debris flying everywhere, instantly putting the stunned local hunters on the defensive. The worm is not just a physical threat, carrying a deadly poison that makes standard tanking completely impossible. One unfortunate hunter is splashed by the beast's blood and receives a terrifying system notification. He is officially afflicted with a severe poison status, giving him exactly 10 minutes before his character is erased from this world forever. Absolute panic begins to spread through the entire squad. They quickly realize they lack the firepower and coordination to defeat such a high-level target on their own. The realization that they are trapped in the deepest dungeon layer with a ticking death timer causes a total mental breakdown for the team. Meanwhile, the conversation shifts to the broader server rules, specifically the looming 3-day deadline. In just 72 hours, the safety zone inside the village will vanish, turning this once peaceful lobby into a brutal player versus player zone. The weaker hunters start to realize that bloodthirsty monsters are not the only ones waiting to farm them for valuable resources. Just as things look completely hopeless, Soma steps in, activating a skill called Diamond Body Indestructible, proving that raw muscle is the ultimate armor. More backup arrives as Yongi steps forward with her specialized healing skill. Known as the Flower of Detoxification, the toxic purple haze instantly dissipates and the relieved group gets to keep breathing for another day. Soon, Guan Ok decides he has had enough of this overgrown lizard and activates a skill Called Ignite, walking toward the beast with the unstoppable energy of a man about to demand a manager. The massive explosion marks a definitive, fiery end to the Grand Worm's highly unsuccessful career as a dungeon boss. Instead of just stealing the loot and running off, the hero hands over an official dungeon guidebook. He warns the survivors that this secret information is their only real hope of not getting wiped out. Then he summons a divine avatar to oversee a 365-day oath, creating a legally binding magical headache for everyone. The signers are strictly banned from climbing past rank 50, and they have to avoid the main village like an unpaid bill. If anyone breaks these rules, their stats will plummet to 1, making them basically human-sized speed bumps. Later, the scene shifts back to the village on day 14. After the grand summoning, the 2-week peace treaty officially expired right at midnight, leaving the air heavy. Now the top rankers emerge from their hiding spots, hunting for easy low-level targets to farm. Jackson and his squad of elite hunters are highly confused about why the area looks completely abandoned. They suspect the lower ranked players have already run off to hide in some dark corner of a dungeon, since they are incredibly eager to boost their scores, which requires they are completely ruining someone else's day. The elite hunters decide to vent their frustration on the helpless non-combatants who were just trying to exist. One man begs for mercy, reminding a ranker that he literally served him breakfast every morning, but the cold ranker does not care about hospitality and prepares to end the poor man's life. He even justifies the murder by pointing out that even weak players drop currency like a broken vending machine. It is a brutal display of pure greed. The victim's screams echo through the village as the elite hunters enjoy their low-effort looting spree. The next day, Jackson's gang is suddenly interrupted by a mysterious figure wearing a wolf mask. The gang tells him to meet Jackson if he wants to join them, but they definitely recognize him. Rumors of the legendary hunter named X have clearly reached the ears of the local bullies. Guan Hyuk stands at the gate, drawing a literal line in the dirt. With his weapon, he warns them that crossing his line is a one-way trip to the Shadow Realm. The scene shifts to the sunny field of Babel's first floor, where Youngie is currently running a very wholesome side hustle. She is selling flowers of healing to other hunters, which are basically essential survival subscriptions for the unprepared. One buyer is absolutely shocked to find them for only 10 coins each, a deal so good he thinks he just found a legendary exploit. He quickly buys 30 of them, thanking her for being the only person on the server with a functional moral compass. Youngie is happy to help, but her mind drifts toward her brother's inevitable high-stakes drama. She knows Guan Hyuk is likely dealing with the top-tier elites, group known for having more ego than actual combat skill. Soma stands nearby. He reflects on Guan Hyuk's use of a divine oath skill, which is a broken way to control both rookies and rankers. He realizes they were sent out of the village for a very specific and likely blood-soaked purpose. Soma wonders if Guan Hyuk has officially started a lobby-wide deletion spree for the greater good. Back at the village entrance, the atmosphere is considerably more toxic. Guan Hyuk has drawn a literal line in the dirt, and a hunter who crossed it was immediately sent back to the main menu. The crowd is fuming, calling him a lunatic for gatekeeping the only exit. They are desperate to reach the dungeon to rack up points, but the main character is manually patching their progress to 0. He informs them that he has taken on a quest to ensure no low-tier hunters get farmed by local bullies today. He claims he already taught the lower-tier players how to earn points, so he can't let these rankers pad their stats any further. The rankers are losing their minds, terrified that the rookies might actually catch up to their level. One man lunges for a kill, but he is met with a perfect counterattack. Guan Hyuk equips his Hell Squad leader sword and activates Clean Cut. He tells the trash to stop yapping and listen until he has finished explaining the server rules. He clarifies that his plan only helps the lower-tier players get above rank 50, which should not even trigger the top-tier elites. The rankers do not buy it, acting as if they have never heard of basic community service before. Guan Hyuk just stares them down, telling them to trust his blade if they cannot trust his very suspicious words. Suddenly, 3 heavy hitters arrive: Greg, Brandon, and Kim Seong Cho, the dungeon's absolute priciest ego holders. They claim their Even among rankers, a hierarchy exists, and they plan to beat the arrogance out of this masked fighter. But Guan Hyuk just smirks behind his mask, ready to prove that rank is just a number. Real skill, however, is a requirement. Right on cue, the musketeer trio launches their assault. Their coordinated attack shows a level of teamwork that is actually pretty respectable. Yet Guan Hyuk dodges their strikes with ease. The enemy notes that though he is talented, he is secretly leaning on his gear to stay relevant. Suddenly, Brandon steps in. He catches Guan Hyuk's blade, snapping the Hell Squad leader's sword. Instantly, Kim Cho takes his chance too slow. Guan Hyuk activates his trump card, Ignite. This triggers a massive explosion. Maria jumps in, determined to make sure that Guan Hyuk's skills will not work anymore. Someone lunges again, and this time, he actually takes the hit. Kim Seong-chul mockingly asks if this pathetic display is all the number. One ranker has to offer the current lobby. Kyoka stands in the center of the wreckage, looking like he is just waiting for a late bus, while everything around him burns. He triggers Ignite again. Absolute chaos. A massive fire pillar erupts, illuminating the whole area with a very unhealthy orange glow. Next, he activates Foul's protection, which basically gives his body a permanent no-smoking sign. His fire resistance instantly hits the maximum level. Still, the enemy points out that spamming the same move is a top-tier rookie mistake, but Guan Hyuk blocks the incoming strikes, triggering another heavy explosion. Thick smoke begins to fill the battlefield, and the enemy realizes what a sloppy fight this has become. Something very untypical of Guan Hyuk, unbelievable. The enemy silently wonders how many coins number one ranker is worth. Guan Hyuk activates his skill transformations and attacks the enemies one by one. This time they take every hit. Guan Hyuk moves through the battlefield with explosions following every step. The enemies stare at two fallen comrades, wondering how this tyrant took down two players with one hit. The next target is Kim Cho, who raises his shield to block Guan Hyuk's attack. But against Guan Hyuk's skills, even he takes a massive blow. Guan Hyuk stands right over him, weapon at his throat. Kim Cho begs before Guan Hyuk can strike. No chance. Another force interrupts them. Jackson finally makes his move. He stands with his sword pointed at Guan Hyuk, proud that the top ranker knows his name. Jackson looks at his fallen allies, knowing in an instant that Guan Hyuk is no ordinary man. Guan Hyuk warns that if they want to fight, their lives are on the line, but Jackson knows he can never a fair fight, and let's be real, his only chance is in those numbers. The ground is filled with his allies. He uses skills to give them a boost. Now none of the allies will hurt each other with their attacks. Jackson orders his tank unit to charge, and they rush at Guan Hyuk. He commands the damage dealers to strike. Together they plan to take down this menace named Guan Hyuk. The ranker army lets out a unified roar, unleashing their first massive volley of magical projectiles and arrows. The barrage rains down on Guan Hyuk's position, looking like a server stress test gone completely wrong. The impact creates a blinding flash of light and a shockwave that rattles the surrounding stone. Holding their breath, they stare through the settling dust, trying to see if their massive ambush actually worked. Searching for a body in the rubble, the lobby remains suspiciously quiet as the heavy smoke clears, but their target is already gone. But a sudden voice from above breaks the silence. Guan Hyuk is still in the game, no doubt about it. He has claimed the high ground, looking down with absolute cold indifference. Jackson wastes no time. He orders his tanker team to pursue. They rely on the shared fate buff to keep the pressure high. This top-tier skill lets them ignore friendly fire while unleashing total chaos. They can use their weapons without hesitation, even with allies in the way. It allows for surprise attacks from angles nobody would ever expect. A perfect buff for a massive mob, making their advantage feel completely broken. But to Guan Hyuk, this entire situation is just a massive chore. He notes that coordinating these guys is Jackson's only real talent. Enough talk, he prepares a skill of his own to reset the pace. But his attack seemingly does nothing, and Maria mocks him as she steps forward. She reminds him that her spell completely blocks all of his abilities. With his skills sealed, she claims his chances of winning are now zero. The enemies charge again, but Guan Hyuk effortlessly dodges every single strike. Jackson orders long-ranged attacks to pin him down with nowhere to run. He warns his men to stay in formation and not chase him down. If their defense breaks, they will not be able to keep up. Right then, Guan Hyuk notices his weapon has lost all its durability. That split second of distraction allows Secho to break their own formation. Guan Hyuk instantly equips his gargoyle halberd and activates ignition boost. The rest watch as Secho meets his end, thanks for the cash. He burns 20,020 purple coins to buff his build mid-fight. Instantly, his avatar reaches level 10, the ranking army starts to panic. They scream to fire another volley before he can even react. Jackson screams for them to strike, but Guan Hyuk just coldly stares them down. He tells them they are far too slow, activating chrono control. Time completely freezes, everyone else is turned into a helpless snail. Guan Hyuk casually walks through the crowd, completely out of their league. They are left frozen in shock as he initiates his next skill. He chains time control with ignition boost, launching himself forward. He becomes a high-speed projectile, tearing right through the elite hunters. A massive explosion of raw force sends the rankers flying like ragdolls. Jackson takes a direct hit and crashes violently into the floor. His defensive aura is completely shattered by the sheer force of the impact. The second-ranked player is down bad, staring in absolute disbelief. He watches in complete horror as his entire team gets wiped out in seconds. Guan Hyuk stands over the wreckage, looking like the only sane survivor. He complains that dealing with this level of stupidity ruins his schedule. Maria trembles, wondering if surrendering now will save her life. But Guan Hyuk is not merciful. He immediately moves to strike. Azel blocks his weapon, asking if he forgot his 100 survival quest. To her, it looks like he is on his way to exterminate them all instead of saving them. She stares at Guan Hyuk, questioning his true motives. Azel confronts Guan Hyuk directly. Did he betray humanity for the demons? But he clarifies, he remains neutral, doing this purely for survival. Specifically, to ensure exactly 100 people make it out alive. Too many strong guys hog the top 50 spots, so he cut them down. Azel warns him, angels only keep strong humans alive to conquer Babel. Favoritism has nothing to do with it, yet here he is shielding weaklings. Slaughtering the heavy hitters like this feels exactly like a demon's work. Azel draws his holy weapon, he points it straight at him. Guan Hyuk shrugs, he explains he did not design this brutal system. Besides, angels are forbidden from attacking humans, he warns him to back off. The terrified survivors beg Azel, save us from this absolute tyrant. But Guan Hyuk plays a trump card, threatening to report this to Babel. Azel lowers his blade, the hunters already culled should have been enough. He demands he spare these people, promising to step away quietly. Guan Hyuk refuses, no promises, especially after getting injured by them. In this brutal tower, there are no vaccines to guarantee safety. Before he strikes, Azel asks him one last time, "What do you want?" Guan Hyuk answers instantly, he wants the holy summoning scroll. Azel warns him that legendary item is reserved only for the final winner. But our proud hero just scoffs, telling the angel to throw it in anyway. He boasts he is the only one who will ever conquer Babel. He tells Azel to stop pouting just because a few weaklings died. He urges Azel to bet everything on him, strictly business of course. The remaining members of Jackson's gang take the 365 oath. Guan Hyuk pockets the scroll, then a random subordinate walks up to him. He reports that every top ranker in the village has taken the oath. Then he delivers the news, someone has arrived to see the boss. Suma stands before him, he immediately lectures him for leaving Yang's side. But he cuts to the chase, demanding to know why he slays people. Realizing Suma knew all along, Guan Hyuk asks about Suma's past before Babel. Before entering this brutal place, Suma was a warrior protecting his homeland. He also shed blood, so Guan Hyuk asks if his killing was justified. Suma admits he does not know, and Guan Hyuk says neither does he. He kills solely to defeat the Demon King, completely ignoring all moral questions. He knows Suma felt the exact same way when fighting his wars. Suma issues a dark warning, stating he will soon fall into the abyss. Now watch, because in a past regression the cycle drove him mad. He had turned into a merciless executioner who hunted down other players. Suma was the only warrior capable of standing firmly in his path. In that dark timeline, Suma refused to let him destroy the world. Because of their clashing ideals, the two warriors clashed in a duel. Suma immediately activated his powerful, legendary diamond body skill. It turned his skin into something harder than solid steel. Guan Hyuk countered with a massive ignition boost to match him. He needed that extra power just to withstand the crushing aura. Even in victory, he took a hit that should have been straight-up fatal because Yangzi was not there to carry the heals. Back in the present, Guan Hyuk realizes that dealing with a low-level sub-I is a massive headache. He knows this guy has the potential to eventually stand as the strongest shield in human history if he survives. Moved by their talk, sub-I swears a heavy, dramatic oath to the protagonist. He begs to stay by Guan Hyuk's side, promising to become a literal demon to help him save the world by any means. With the village drama settled, Lillian pops up again, laughing. At how much bolder Guan Hyuk has grown, he asks what she wants, and Lillian hands over the rewards for his bloody work. He unlocked 3 demon achievements for wiping out over 30 hunters on the very first floor. Honestly, this loot is absolutely cracked, offering 35 blue coins and a staggering 550 purple coins. Guan Hyuk quietly admits that demon rewards are way better than the angel's cheap leftovers. She shows him a sword called Grim Scythe, an A+ rank weapon that rarely drops this early. Guan Hyuk, however, does not care about a fragile blade that looks like some generic game store trash. Instead, he calls her an old hag, demanding something with real utility for his specific endgame build. He demands the vampire princess's ring, a high-tier accessory that drinks the blood of fallen enemies. This blood-sucking ring lets the user win dominance clashes against vampires and force them into absolute submission. It is basically the perfect item for someone looking to build a gothic harem without the hassle of dating. Lillian is surprised by his selective taste, noting that such rare item is not easy to hand over. Guan Hyuk offers a toxic deal, promising to slaughter another 100 players by the time they reach the 3rd floor. This insane level of bloodlust definitely excites the demon, as she finds his dark proposal highly entertaining. She agrees to hand over the ring, but only on the condition that Guan Hyuk gives her a little taste of his charm. She demands a kiss for the legendary ring, looking like she is ready for a cosmic encounter. Guan Hyuk, ever the dedicated player, has absolutely zero interest in kissing a supernatural predator. He bans her from his screen, but before she gets booted, he snatches the vampire ring. He calls her a 600-year-old hag, prioritizing his stats over some weird demon romance. The succubus is left fuming and banished as Guan Hyuk walks away with his shiny new prize and his dignity intact. Finally, the deadline for the first floor arrives and the village gate is packed like a midnight line for a sold-out console. Every hunter who survived is nervously watching the clock, waiting for the final tally that decides who gets to live and who ends up dead on the pavement. Suddenly, Yangzi comes sprinting through the crowd like she is on a desperate mission. She spots Guan Hyuk in the middle of the frantic crowd and gives him a tight, sisterly hug. Soma follows right behind them. He protects the low rankers like a martial arts master guarding his chicks. These hunters are practically worshipping Guan Hyuk, viewing him as a savior with an absolute godlike aura. He is far more impressive than a perfectly cooked steak on a diet day. They weep with joy because they managed to scrape into the top 50. It is a feat they believed was about as likely as finding an honest politician who actually keeps their promises. Gamok turns his attention to Ozil, demanding the specific rewards he was promised for completing his aggressive population management quest. Right on time, the demons make their grand entrance. Christy does not like the look on these hunters' faces. She opens up her screen and is immediately shocked by 93 people all tied for the exact same spot in the top 50. Ozil smirks at the other demons while the humans celebrate their sudden comeback. Christy gets furious as she demands to know what kind of witchery Ozil pulled. Ozil reminds her that direct intervention is strictly against the rules, but the smug demon claims he did not even do anything. Ozil then shifts his attention to Lillian because she clearly knew what the humans were planning. Crunchy promises to have a serious talk with Lillian. The rankers check their ranks and are shocked to see they are in actual positions, not tied for 50th place. Jackson's goons reveal what Guan Hyuk had done behind the scenes. Yoi looks at Guan Hyuk for confirmation, but the others are just happy to live another day until the massive loophole presents itself. The rankers were not allowed to raise their levels past rank 50. Cripply is amazed at this wild turn of events, but Ozil is quick to jump at Guan Hyuk. He demands answers on why he tricked everyone since they could not see their ranks. While trapped inside the village, Guan Hyuk calmly tells them he only did what was asked, nothing else matters. The rankers who were just praising him instantly turn on him and call him a scammer, realizing they are no better than trash. Right now, with this, the oath triggers and all the rankers lose their intelligence and start buying like sheep. Jackson's gang is the only group who did not betray Guan Hyuk, so they quickly realize what happened. Jackson summons his avatar, apologizing for his foolishness, and asks Guan Hyuk one thing. Only is he the enemy of humanity. The brainless rankers giggle like a bunch of blushing schoolgirls. Sax confronts Guan Hyuk, demanding answers for his wicked schemes. Guan Hyuk sighs but remains completely silent. S admits this entire ordeal was fishy from the very beginning. The conditions of the oath could have been a warning, but they were far too specific. All the steps he took to ensure he came out on top were useless if Guan Hyuk planned to turn them into mindless fodder. Guan Hyuk agrees with everything S says. Yoi just looks at her brother in distrust. Lillian claps for Christy and then calls dibs on Guan Hyuk because she was the one who found this talent, but Christy is still suspicious of this situation. Out of nowhere, the level 1 idiot rankers start glowing. A hidden rule of protecting those unable to fight triggers, granting them the protection of the angels. Yoi wonders where all these people are heading. The city where the idiots are going is a human city in Babel where warriors from the past 6 summons gather together. Most low-ranked rankers have avatars that are better suited for daily chores than hunting. These people are summoned to the 5th floor so they can finally be useful. Since they cannot make the journey themselves, most is a way to send them straight to heaven instead. Ezel finally realizes what an insane power play Guan Hyuk just pulled off. Sure, they might be low-level idiots, but they are perfect labor to build the city. If players want to conquer Babel, strength alone won't cut it. One needs to play this game of wits too. Soma begs Guan Hyuk for forgiveness, realizing he was way too short-sighted to see this coming. Chris analyzes the whole situation and immediately glares at Lillian for bringing in someone so chaotic, who is ruining the demon's fun. Ezel tells Guan Hyuk to share these wild plans beforehand so she does not jump to conclusions. Guan Hyuk gently grabs Ezel's hand, basically securing another member for his growing waifu harem, but then he remembers the debt. With the quest fully cleared, that precious summoning book belongs to Guan Hyuk now. Kristen, clearly pretty bitter about this outcome, warns him not to get too cocky since they are already transferring to the 2nd floor. He tells the supports to back off because they will all be split up on the 2nd floor. Once they reach the 3rd floor, they will meet again. Yongi silently vows to survive no matter what. The transfer to the 2nd floor of Babel is finally complete, and S finds himself in a lobby packed tighter than a midnight game release. He looks around at the massive crowd, wondering if these people are actually elite players or just lucky scrubs who survived the 1st floor by pure chance. Suddenly, he spots a creepy reddish-black shadow floating around the lobby, which is definitely a bad sign for anyone nearby. Right then, a complete stranger walks right up to S. He calls S a good guy, which is hilarious given his body count is already higher than a pro gamer's caffeine intake. This stranger explains he has a unique skill to see the purity of souls through their shadows. A black shadow means you are righteous, while a crimson one means you have been brutally hunting down other players for quick loot and easy experience. But the guy instantly freezes in pure terror. He notices a bright crimson glow radiating from Guan Hyuk that is brighter than a flashing neon sign. Meanwhile, S recognizes Guan Hyuk and casually strolls over like they are old best friends. The stranger panics, realizing he is standing right next to a literal, cold-blooded serial killer. But S knows not to push it, remembering Guan Hyuk's very clear boundaries. Guan Hyuk quickly walks away since his massive, glowing aura is drawing way too much attention. Suddenly, the demon Mistama materializes, looking like he is one bad day away from joining a heavy metal band. He skips the usual greeting completely and gets straight to the point because he has immense presence and zero patience for idle chatter. The 2nd floor challenge is a brutal 10 versus 10 team battle. Players must Assemble teams of 10 and the matchmaking is completely random, like a gacha game. With terrible odds, the battle goes down as a series of intense one-on-one duels where each squad sends forward a single fighter to trade devastating blows. If a player gets killed or admits defeat, the next teammate has to immediately step up to keep the match alive. Surrendering is actually pretty simple. Just tap the ground 3 times and shout out that you surrender. The team that completely runs out of fighters will face a crushing, total defeat and get sent straight to the loser's bracket. Mastama calmly sips his tea the very second his shift ends, enjoying a peaceful little demonic happy hour. Then an angel named Nariel takes over the briefing, appearing much softer though she hides dark secrets. She explains that defeated teams are not immediately deleted, instead getting a second chance to fight. Lose that next game though, and you are deleted from existence via execution, putting the ultimate stakes higher than any skyscraper penthouse party. Average survival rate is about 3/4, which is way better than the first floor's brutal bloodbath. Plus, the system has nerfed player on player hunting by slashing those coin rewards in half here. It is a clear warning to toxic griefers to stick to the actual quest instead of simply hunting other players to boost stats. Maria approaches Guan Hyuk, offering her signature flame magic and stat buffs to assist his team, but he hits her with a cold get lost, showing his interest in her is sitting at absolute zero. Nariel then urges everyone to keep their groups balanced, warning that stacking elite players will completely ruin the game balance. She offers a unique bonus for anyone who carries underleveled players, dangling a massive carrot in front of these desperate fighters, but the elite pros laugh it off, refusing to risk their necks on a glorified rescue mission for rookies. Guan Hyuk, however, notices a bunch of rookies who look incredibly helpless, with no gear or training, and decides to team up with them. Join forces with the weakest squad here is a total pro gamer move. He is set to claim that unique prize while everyone else is busy playing checkers while he plays 40 chess. The 10-man squad is officially formed, leaving the rookies to celebrate their incredible luck. The nearby onlookers are losing their minds trying to figure out his grand plan. They are completely convinced this legendary player has completely lost his mind, picking up the human equivalent of dollar store clearance items just to secure Nariel's bonus. People think he is either a saint or a total idiot for dragging 10 heavy anchors through a professional marathon. Watching Guan Hyuk leave with a team of useless baggage is like seeing a pro select the absolute worst character just to flex on everyone. Other players are praying to match against this disaster squad for an easy victory, completely unaware they are just tutorial mobs in his game. Meanwhile, Guan Hyuk takes a quiet break to study his next upgrade, quietly climbing the system tech tree while everyone else is still confused. He pulls out a rare book for summoning holy spirits. Right then, the system demands skill coins, finding 10 but only needing 5 to start the process. A bright green light wraps around Guan Hyuk, signaling that his massive power-up is underway as he absorbs a surge of divine energy. The passive skill Saf hero takes root inside him, essentially turning his body into a human conductor for archangel energy. He is not just unlocking one skill, he's getting an entire divine starter pack, including spirit gathering and purification. Next, he unlocks holy spirit summoning and possession techniques. He exhales slowly, looking extremely satisfied with himself, with a massive boost that makes his earlier struggles feel like a filler arc. Just then, Nariel reappears with a bright smile, looking genuinely. People are honestly surprised Guan Hyuk actually agreed to carry these low-level players. He teams up with the weakest hunters in the lobby, proving he is either a saint or a highly efficient farmer of bonus rewards. Guan Hyuk asks about Azul, only to find out the senior angel is feeling unwell, a polite way of saying the old man needs a mental health day. After dealing with our main character, Nariel has been sent to handle divine customer service duties during his sudden absence. She hands over an angel tier reward because he agreed to carry these weaklings. Nariel seems pretty hopeful that Guan Hyuk will reach the upper floors soon, mostly so he can finally become someone else's massive headache. Guan Hyuk is not satisfied with just a tier upgrade and demands a special dungeon key, showing ultimate audacity. Even angels have never seen. Nariel's smile falters since. Giving away such a legendary item is not in her description. He points out that they are all bound by tower rules, suggesting that if she cannot just hand it over, she should disguise it as a quest reward. He is essentially trying to gaslight an actual angel into giving him a cheap shortcut through the tower progression system. He proposes an extra quest with a brutal difficulty curve that would make even Dark Souls veterans sweat. He demands his team be put in the very first match, probably because he wants to finish his homework early so he can go back to being a menace in peace. The angel and the demon share a cup of tea, looking like a pair of stressed corporate workers discussing their latest massive disaster. Nariel admits she only accepted the crazy proposal because she felt overwhelmed by our main character's aura, the divine equivalent of being intimidated by an angry customer. The demon wonders if Ozzel was legitimately blind for giving such a high-level summoning book to a human who treats divine beings like low-tier service staff. They both realize that this 13th regression version of Guan Hyuk is a wild card the system was never prepared to handle. The team formations are locked in, and the server enters the next phase of this human chess match. A brand new rule drops like a surprise patch note. The person with the highest level on each team is automatically designated as their leader. The catch is that the leader acts as the anchor, meaning they must fight last in the team battle. Guan Hyuk's teammates are having a total mental breakdown. Their only hope of survival is benched until 9 other players get completely deleted. Guan Hyuk tells them to stop yapping and just surrender the moment they step into the arena. He is planning to solo the entire enemy team once the anchors clash, treating his own squad like literal speed bumps on his path to easy victory. The matchmaking system fires up, selecting Team 51, led by the man himself, for the opening act. Their opponents are Team 13, led by someone named Nieper, who is about to experience the absolute shortest career in tower history. The opposing team already cheering. They think they hit the jackpot. Who would not celebrate matching with a group of complete weaklings? They are shouting with pure, unearned confidence. Do not realize they are just red shirts. Meanwhile, our main character remains in peak form while his team looks like they forgot to turn off the stove back home. Nieper's squad looks completely ready for player versus player action, grinning with the extreme confidence of players who found some broken game glitch. Leveling system. One of Guan Hyuk's bench scrubs reluctantly steps onto. Stepping into the ring, his knees knock loud enough to hear. He takes one look at the opponent's shadow and decides his living room floor has never looked more inviting. He even tries apologizing for the matchup, clearly realizing he is just a speed bump in this brutal collision. The crowd watches with that awkward fascination usually saved for a slow-motion car crash. The referee signals the fight. They step into the center of the arena for their opening clash. This opponent looks nothing like a normal hunter, resembling a badly drawn nightmare pulled straight from a horror movie storyboard. He immediately targets the weakest teammate as his very first prey. Flashing a creepy smile, this fight is quick, like a forgotten free trial. Before the billing cycle actually hits, the poor teammate is slammed to the ground, his instincts screaming that the skill gap is wider than a European gap year. He desperately tries tapping the floor to surrender, but the monster has absolutely zero interest in following any rules today. This beast pins the poor guy down, blocking any chance of an early escape through a technicality. He treats the arena floor like a messy kitchen. And his victim is the main course trying to crawl off the plates. He declares that surrendering is impossible. Everyone in this room is just an offering to feed his creepy, bottomless hunger. The rest of the crowd watches in pure horror, feeling incredibly relieved they were not the ones chosen for this match. Guan Hyuk remains quiet. The enemy stands over his broken victim, demanding the poor guy reveal his avatar to survive. Once the terrified hunter reveals his avatar, the Ankum, this monstrous opponent, yanks his avatar, systematically devouring others to boost its own power level. Guan Hyuk realizes why that jaguar avatar looks so grotesque. It is because it devoured other avatars. This beast is completely bypassing the standard slot limits by feeding on its peers in absolute monstrous gluttony. Its predation slots are sitting at 24 by 1. Level of illegal that even seasoned hackers would fear. The beast loses all control, turning the hunter into a vessel for a very angry and ravenous giant cat. The monster decides it is time to hunt down the next target. It delivers one final brutal blow to end the first round. Match over. Team 13 wins it, while Guan Hyuk's team looks like they are seriously questioning every single life choice that led here. Rock Portal is absolutely tearing through this competition with the reckless abandon of a toddler wielding a permanent marker. Match after match, he leaves a long trail of defeated and broken hunters in his wake. By the 8th round, this arena has seen total carnage, worse than a holiday sale. The victor remains standing, staring down at his latest victim with an incredibly cold glare. The crowd's early excitement has long since faded into a heavy, suffocating silence. Right now, one of Guan Hyuk's teammates is having a complete mental breakdown, screaming at the latest victim for being an absolute fool who refused to just surrender. He cannot understand why these fighters are choosing death over a simple surrender, but Guan Hyuk stops them with a chilling truth that instantly puts a sudden end to all the pointless yapping. But those poor guys never really had a choice in their brutal destiny. They tried surrendering repeatedly, but the tower interface completely ignored them. Turns out that monster in the arena is actively blocking their escape. By keeping them trapped in sheer, nonstop agony, they cannot click out. It is a sickeningly toxic move designed to force a permanent deletion. Absolute griefing at its worst. Next up, a teammate turns on Guan Hyuk. He blames Guan Hyuk for not saving them, but Guan Hyuk just brings up the stats. If he wanted easier fights, he should have queued up with weaker players. But since Guan Hyuk's power level is massive, they are stuck facing true nightmares. Guan Hyuk admits he knew this would happen from the very start. And pretty soon, that teammate will be thrown right into the meat grinder as the announcer calls the next round. The poor guy desperately tries to surrender, but the enemy moves way too fast. In one single flash, he gets sent straight to his doom. Rock stands tall once again as the sole victor of the match. Now everyone wonders if Guan Hyuk can actually turn things around against this beast. Rock just wiped out 9 players back-to-back and looks utterly unstoppable. Nobody in the arena thinks anyone can beat him, so they start betting big. Everyone goes for Rock, but S stays loyal, putting 1,000 coins on Guan Hyuk. Maria drops another 1,000 on him too. It is time for Guan Hyuk to step up. He is completely chill about the monster's broken mechanics or ugly looks. The final fight kicks off and Rock instantly tries his dirtiest trick. He triggers bloodbinding, aiming to turn Guan Hyuk into his personal puppet. He expects an easy win, totally clueless about the gear Guan Hyuk brought along. He is wearing the Vampire Princess's ring, a legendary counter item. It triggers a hidden, highly aggressive counter mechanic that flips the script. Guan Hyuk initiates a hostile takeover of the beast's very soul. The battle for blood control is done before the monster even realizes he lost. Rock gets forced straight to his knees, looking like a scolded puppy. Just like that, the apex predator is reduced to a submissive servant. But Rock still smiles because this is not his only trick. Guan Hyuk steps right up and dishes out exactly what Rock gave his teammates. He keeps the mutated beast pinned down, utterly powerless under his weight. The crowd is dead silent. Talk about a massive shift in the power dynamic. Guan Hyuk looks down cold, recalling the brutal way his teammates were slaughtered. He mentions their slashed wrists and shredded chests in precise, chilling detail. This isn't just talk, he is setting up a legendary punishment. He is about to deliver a beatdown so brutal it hurts to watch. Rock orders his avatar to attack, but our main character is done playing around. He initiates the release of the Sephro seal, letting his true power flow. Guan Hyuk cloaks himself in Isham's holy flame, charging up his spirit. Next, he sparks his ignition boost skill to reach maximum speed. He crosses the arena in a flash, launching a barrage of blinding strikes. It is way too fast for anyone to track. The beast gets utterly overwhelmed. Caught in a storm of holy fire and sharp steel, it gets torn apart instantly. Finish its first snarl. The opening match of the relay ends decisive blow. A devastating strike leaves his opponent in a messy heap. Guan Hyuk stands over the shattered remains as the system confirms Team 51 wins the opening round. Guan Hyuk looks at the enemy remains but decides to hold back because too many eyes are watching him. The next challenger steps forward praising Guan Hyuk as an interesting little creature. Then the opponent summons an avatar to strike, but Guan Hyuk casually catches the massive bird by its beak. The enemy takes his chance to strike, but that desperate move completely backfires. Soon this second opponent is sent straight to the afterlife. The crowd wonders if this is payback for hurting his teammates, but Maria notes that Guan Hyuk is not exactly a sentimental person. Up in the stands, the demon and angel watch, highly amused by how the bloodbath is unfolding. The next challenger steps up, immediately trying to surrender, but Guan Hyuk does not give her a single second before cutting her down. The remaining fights end the exact same way, with Guan Hyuk making absolutely sure his opponents remember his name. The crowd realizes this guy is just built different. Guan Hyuk brings literal heat by unleashing his devastating ignite skill. To close out the 19th match, blazing fire consumes the arena, leaving nothing but the charred ashes of shattered dreams and the smell of a terrible day. The system officially declares Guan Hyuk the winner, while his final opponent ends his career by putting on a perfect impression of a human torch. Team 51 secures the win, cementing their power. The surrounding crowd of hunters falls into a massive existential crisis. Watching this slaughter, they realize the survival rate for this floor has just been brutally nerfed, dropping faster than an overpowered character in a balance patch update. Losing 19 out of 20 challengers right away turns the entire arena from a tense competition into straight-up funeral vibes. These hunters are paralyzed with fear, realizing their actual chance of survival is now lower than finding a clean public restroom. High above this absolute carnage, the demon watches the display with genuine professional respect. He acknowledges that Guan Hyuk is clearly the player who caught Asazul's eye, which basically equals getting a massive shout-out from a top-tier streamer. He leans over to Nariel, who watches in deep worry as Medma announces that the terrifying demonstration of power is over. It is time for real chaos to erupt. With 10 simultaneous matches, the battles start, but the entire vibe in the arena shifts from fierce combat to competitive cowardice. Hunters are surrendering the moment they step up, treating this trial like an unwanted subscription they forgot to cancel. One terrified female hunter throws her hands up, surrendering on the spot, but her teammates quickly scold her cowardly decision. Meanwhile, onlookers yap endlessly about ending up in the loser's bracket while actively avoiding any real work themselves. Up in the stands, a spectacled man notes that Fear has uninstalled the fighting spirit from the lobby. Hearing this, his teammate instantly covers his mouth, absolutely terrified that Guan Hyuk might hear them and fast-track their deletion from the server. With the next group called to step up, Maria pitches her plan. It is simple enough. Everyone takes turns surrendering to force a draw between the teams, while several of the men think this cowardly strategy stupider than trying to eat soup with a fork. Yuria stays completely calm. As their group leader, she knows exactly what she is doing. She asks her allies and enemies alike to trust her vision of a peaceful path through this digital hellscape. Match 18 concludes, and the final match of the bracket begins. The contestants step forward with a look of shared understanding. Yuria declares that for humanity to survive, they must try this collective strategy, even if it means losing out on some sweet loot. They both hit the floor and surrender simultaneously, forcing the system to declare a draw. The notification confirms that while victory rewards are off the table, both teams get to advance to the winner's bracket. It is a loophole so big you could probably drive a stolen tank through it without scratching the paint. The teams erupt in celebration, cheering for Yuria as if she just invented the concept of a weekend. They are ecstatic to have survived another round without becoming a permanent part of the arena's interior decor. Every hunter in the room is now looking to copy the draw strategy, hoping to cheesily navigate their way to the next floor. MMA watches this pacifist run with a skeptical eye, wondering if Guan Hyuk secretly leaked the strategy to the masses. Nariel quickly denies it, knowing that the main character isn't exactly the type to care about public service announcements. They realize that Yuria possesses a level of charisma that allows her to persuade even her enemies to abandon their killer instincts. The system rings out with a new notification awarding Yuria the unique and very shiny title of Savior. Even the angels are impressed by her contribution, which is a rare feat for a group that usually views humans as expendable background assets. Yuria bows, gracefully accepting the praise with a level of modesty that feels suspiciously wholesome. Nariel turns to our boy Guan Hyuk, who is sitting alone on the steps. Yuria approaches him, her shadow stretching across the floor like a moral obligation. She mentions that she heard about his brutal methods on the first floor from Maria. She confronts the masked hunter directly, telling him that his current way of doing business is objectively wrong and very toxic. Guan Hyuk doesn't even bother to stand up, simply looking at her with a single eye. Glowing through his wolf mask, he starts a slow, sarcastic clap. He seems completely unimpressed by her savior title or her lecture on the ethics of apocalypse management. The second floor tournament finally grinds to a halt as the last few hunters decide that fighting is for people who enjoy hospital food. A defeated warrior hits the floor, signaling his surrender as the crowd watches the final match conclude with a whimper rather than a bang. The system officially terminates the session, announcing that the blood bath on Babel's second floor is over for now. Nariel stares at the results on the massive display, seeing 794 out of 1,000 hunters managed to avoid becoming permanent floor decorations. These individuals are now eligible to advance to the third floor. The crowd erupts into a celebratory roar as the survivors realize they aren't going to be deleted from the server today. The hunters are busy glazing Yuria, loudly crediting her draw strategy for survival rate that defied all theoretical odds. The demon interrupts the festivities, giving everyone a single day of rest before they transfer to the next floor. During this downtime, the hunters can challenge a special bonus dungeon on the second floor. The guide warns that once you enter this cardinal boss dungeon, there is no escape, none. You have to find the exit. Naturally, everyone looks at Yura like she is a living cheat code, practically tripping over themselves to join her party. They desperately crave safety in numbers before the tower's random luck decides to strike again. Yura's group swells to over 100 members. Insane. She has way more unlimited riz than the average leader. However, the divine observers note that Guan Hyuk has something much darker in mind. To discuss, he demands to settle his additional quest, a mission he personally proposed called the Example. This task involved using extreme violence to completely manipulate the crowd's future behavior. His plan was to instill so much fear into the survivors that they would be too terrified to consider betraying the server's newfound peace. He wanted to be the industrial strength deterrent that kept everyone's toxic instincts in check. By acting as the villain, he intended to ensure a high survival rate for the rest of the floor. Nariel initially dismisses his efforts, claiming his quest failed completely because Yura was the one who actually raised the survival rate. Mista, however, insists on using the causality calculator to see the truth. He wants to know if the villain arc actually contributed to the positive outcome of the day. The divine machine begins its processing, leaving the observers looking completely shook. As the numbers roll in, get this, the calculation reveals that Guan Hyuk's brutal display in the first match had a staggering 69% contribution rate to the final tally. This result suggests his toxic gameplay was actually the foundation of their success. Nariel is baffled, wondering if the system is currently bugging out or if she just witnessed a miracle. It is explained that while Yura's draw strategy was a solid idea, it was vulnerable to betrayal. Any player could have refused to surrender at the last second to snatch the victory reward for themselves. In reality, the horrific violence of the first match left a psychological scar on every hunter in the arena. They were so afraid of getting clapped by the masked menace that they did not dare disrupt the peaceful atmosphere. The threat of becoming Guan Hyuk's next victim kept everyone on their best behavior. The demon concludes that Guan Hyuk's evil deeds served as the ultimate cautionary tale for the entire lobby. It turns out that humans are a species more effectively motivated by a big stick than a small carrot. Fear proved to be the best anti-cheat software ever invented for this floor. Guan Hyuk demands his reward immediately. He receives a bonus dungeon key and announces his plan to challenge the difficult raid alone. He is looking to monopolize the loot like a true gamer, leaving the angel speechless at his audacity. The interior of the second floor's bonus dungeon is not exactly a five-star vacation spot. Suddenly, the southern boss, Grandia, makes its grand entrance with a roar. It is a massive creature that looks like a lion had a Very regrettable one-night stand with a giant scorpion. Guan Hyuk is completely unimpressed. Our hunter tells the oversized cat it is way too loud. He calmly warns the beast not to panic because he is about to make things very uncomfortable, activating his skill variant ignition boost. And lunges forward. The impact is solid, but the monster does not just evaporate into loot. The beast growls in frustration, realizing its health bar is way more stubborn than our hunter ever expected. Knowing that basic attacks are strictly for casuals, Guan Hyuk decides to stop holding back his true power. He declares that playtime is officially over because he is a busy man running on a very tight schedule. He begins releasing his Sephiroth seal to unleash some divine cheat codes. First up, Malkuth is fully unlocked, wrapping our hero in a bright blue glow. He gains a holy barrier called the Flame of the Holy Spirit, which is basically a personal shield. His stats instantly jump by 50 points. He does not waste any time and activates Sandalpin's authority, promising to send the monster across the Sanzu River, which is just a polite way of saying he is about to delete its entire existence. Grindia lets out a final growl before its giant body finally hits the floor. Kill confirmed. Guan Hyuk is rewarded with an item called Nathaniel's Stele. He also has to deal with some mental garbage as the dying beast tries to invade his mind. He notes the creature actually thought it could ascend to godhood. Tired of the lore and dramatic fluff, Guan Hyuk uses his GM powers to skip the cutscene. He grabs a black coin, a serious limited edition currency. Meanwhile, Yuria and her massive group of followers are celebrating their recent survival. The group is left staring at the rewards, completely shocked by a white coin they have never seen before. They immediately start hyping up Yuria's leadership, treating her like the absolute queen of survival. But splitting these rewards is going to be tough, even though the group quickly jumps to defend Yuria. This happy vibe is cut short when the air suddenly turns freezing cold. A hunter spots Guan Hyuk and instantly identifies him as a dangerous psychopath. Steps forward to talk to the masked hunter, revealing they actually share a history. The rest of the group is completely stunned, wondering why their main tank is on speaking terms with a notorious murder hobo. Guan Hyuk ignores the gossip, handing over some rare items. He gives S an angel's tear and the bonus dungeon key from his recent boss kill. He mentions that he targeted a boss with great drop rates, then instructs S to take his team to the western edge of the dungeon immediately. He explains that though a boss guards the exit, the angel's tear will let them tank the incoming damage to escape. With the key, they can open the exit without even fighting. It is an elite skip strategy that saves them the hassle of playing hero. S is completely surprised, asking why Guan Hyuk is not coming with them to safety. Our protagonist simply states that this particular reward is something S's group desperately needs. As for himself, he still has unfinished business here, looking like a man with a massive to-do list. S stands before Guan Hyuk, showing immense respect. This place feels like a seat saved for some rich uncle at a funeral. Having a hero around is a massive honor, but he just turns and walks away. Guan Hyuk watches him go, leaving without a single backward glance. Total focus, just like a guy who successfully dodged a first date bill. Meanwhile, Yuria radiates a sweet, innocent energy that feels quite out of place, especially inside a deadly tower, making her look like a total Makima wannabe. Guan Hyuk keeps a close eye on her, wondering if her pure aura is actually real. Or maybe just good lighting. Naturally, he decides to ruin her peaceful vibe. He asks if Yuria seriously plans on keeping that rare white coin for herself. Hearing this, Maria gets defensive, instantly switching into protective soccer mom mode. Back off, she snaps at him to mind his own business. Maria is practically fuming with rage, insisting that whatever Yuria gets is totally fair. It is a well-deserved reward for her incredible leadership and hard work. She barks at Guan Hyuk, telling him he knows nothing and should just leave. Not happening. Guan Hyuk is not backing down, dropping some heavy hints instead. He hints that there is a dark secret behind Yuria's supposedly magical charm. Like how she managed to convince everyone to draw their matches so easily. Sensing danger, Yuria tells her loyal followers to leave them alone. They worry about leaving her with this creep, but she insists she can handle him. Busted, the ugly truth spills out. Guan Hyuk knows her dirty secret. She is actually using a hidden hypnosis skill to brainwash all these other hunters. She is no saintly leader, just a toxic influencer manipulating her followers. Suddenly, her perfectly crafted innocent image begins to crack under the pressure. Pure terror, Yuria looks absolutely horrified as her secret is exposed. Her eyes widen with sheer panic. The most dangerous guy here knows everything. Guan Hyuk calmly asks if she is worried about what happens when everyone finds out. When they find out their holy messiah is just a complete fraud. He makes a very casual demand for his silence. He wants that white coin. In exchange, he promises to keep quiet about her sneaky mind manipulation tricks. Beautiful, the kind of deal that makes a corrupt politician cry proud tears. Now, Yuria is desperately weighing her options in her head. Keeping the coin is great, but being exposed would destroy her forever. Still, she asks how she can possibly trust a guy like him, especially since he looks like he is one bad day away from a watchlist. So Guan Hyuk brings in a witness who cannot lie, Rajapa, the god of oaths. Annoyed deity, he looks incredibly pissed to be summoned for this. He hates having his nap interrupted for this, but he still activates his skill. The 365-day oath is no simple magical handshake. It is a binding contract that literally deletes your existence if you lie. The deal is simple, the coin for his silence, one slip and you die. That is a one-way ticket to the afterlife. Yuria finally accepts the terms. She looks like someone who just traded her soul for a shiny piece of metal. Reluctantly, she hands over the prize, officially sealing her defeat. Yuria turns to leave, but Guan Hyuk instantly strikes, ending her life in a single blow. Standing over her lifeless body, he admits that even looking at her makes him sick. Absolutely pathetic, with her gone, his mind drifts to his past lives. All those endless regressions are starting to blur together like one massive, exhausting hangover. He recalls one specific run where they actually beat the Demon King. They saved the entire world. A massive win like that should mean a happy ending. Maybe with endless snacks, but the tower has a pretty twisted sense of humor. Even after claiming the grand prize, his endless loop of suffering just wouldn't stop. The real issue was never the monsters, it was the humans themselves. Once the threat was cleared, those high-level hunters became incredibly power-hungry. They became obsessed with power in a world completely devoid of targets. Without a common enemy, they started tearing each other apart for fun. Humanity ended up destroying its own save file through sheer greed. In pure boredom, Guan Hyuk had to watch the entire world burn over and over. He watched it melt away like a cheap candle, every time things went south. He got sent right back to the beginning to handle the same old drama. In one run, Guan Hyuk spent 100 years successfully keeping everyone safe. Suddenly, a sub-rank skill activated. Guan Hyuk demanded to know what happened. After hearing the explanation, Guan Hyuk brutally punched the man. All his subordinate had to do was get rid of the kid immediately. The subordinate revealed the toddler was actually the daughter of Yuria. The child couldn't control her power, turning her into a living bomb. She had no off switch, and the tower higher-ups were absolutely panicking. They knew she could easily flatten the entire server during a tantrum. They argued that the dangerous kid should have been eliminated instantly. Yuria had been using her hypnosis to completely erase the records of her child. She was playing a high-stakes game of hide and seek. The ultimate prize in this deadly game was the life of her daughter. But just like every other regression, this loop eventually repeated. Now back in the present, his patience has completely evaporated. Guan Hyuk decides to pull a pro-gamer move, drawing a rare black coin. He uses the coin from his inventory to expand his predation slot. He initiates the process to devour the avatar of Yuria as her team approaches. They attack Guan Hyuk the moment they realize what he has done, but it is useless. Guan Hyuk is just too powerful, cutting down anyone who stands in his way. He will do whatever it takes to secure his perfect regression. Guan Hyuk stands over the remains of Yuria, the former savior. He realized everyone assumed her followers only served her due to hypnosis. But it turns out they weren't simply under a magic spell after all. Even after her death broke the brainwashing, they still tried to attack. They wanted revenge, but our protagonist never lets a good skill go to waste. He decides it is time to properly loot her body and claim a prize. He activates Spirit Collection, reaching into the ether to see what he gets. The system chimes in to let him know he has successfully acquired her soul. It is a soul of integrity, belonging to a truly pure person. Guan Hyuk looks at the glowing essence and admits she was beautiful. He then pulls out the soul of Nathaniel, preparing to combine them both. He fuses that new soul with his divine gear for a massive upgrade, starting the summon. The Holy Spirit skill activates. A massive surge of energy erupts, a god is coming. Nathaniel, the divine angel, fuses directly into his body to complete the soul bond. His work here is done. With a quiet nod, he ascends to the third floor. Guan Hyuk wakes up in absolute wilderness. A cheerful guide offers him a quick tour. Ignore the tour. Guan Hyuk immediately demands his mask back from the startled hunters. But they just want cooking help. Suddenly, the floor boss Lillian makes her entrance. This tropical paradise is her domain, and it is actually a massive survival arena. 3,000 hunters are dumped here. They must survive the island in tiny groups. 10 players per team. Everyone is forced to play this ultimate tropical death game. Yongai stares blankly at the ocean, wondering if her brother is even still alive. The goal is simple: find the sky gate and escape to the next level. But there is a catch: you can't just walk through the exit. Hunters must build a literal airship to escape. No ticket buying, no shortcuts. You have to hunt beasts and other players for rare crafting materials. You know the vibe, think sweaty survival streamer, and to fly, teams must hunt. They must harvest 6 levitation stones, each guarded by a terrifying boss monster. These bosses are hidden everywhere. Then, Ozzel drops a real bomb on them. A secret 7th boss resides in the volcano. It is an absolute nightmare. It hunts weakly, and yes, it loves snacking on weak, unsuspecting hunters. Lillian immediately cuts the angel off, completely done with all this divine yapping. She barks at him to leave and let the humans suffer in peace. Unbothered, Ozzel wishes them good luck with their miserable struggle, then vanishes instantly. Meanwhile, Guan Hyuk starts trailing the naive hunters who offered him some food. Meanwhile, S is having an incredibly rough time surviving on this island. He summons his colossal Vajra Guardian avatar and pulls out a massive gun. The heaven-binding Vajra pistol, a weapon built for absolute devastating destruction. He fires the demon-annihilating thunder. A blinding explosion rocks the island. The boss, a massive Rex Milidon, takes the full blast head-on. The beast is completely vaporized in a single, terrifying flash of raw power. Finally, the system chime confirms the raid is over. Victory is theirs. The surviving hunters erupt in cheers loud enough to wake the dead. They survived, but S knows they would have been total history without help. He credits the overpowered high-tier gear received right before this transfer. And who gave him that legendary gear? Guan Hyuk. His foresight was suspiciously perfect. Without those items, their entire party would have been wiped out today. The group inspects their hard-earned prize, a floating stone fragment. This is just the first of 6 pieces needed to build their airship. They realize a massive mountain of work still lies ahead of them. Finding the remaining 5 pieces is going to be an absolute logistical nightmare. To make matters worse, their survival supplies are already running dangerously low. They spent 6 straight days of grinding just to beat one boss. The mage is completely out of mana. Their pantry looks downright depressing. There are no free refills on this island. Survival is a brutal reality. Suddenly, a man named Jian steps out from the shadows like a ghost. He introduces himself as a messenger, completely ruining their brief moment of peace. Jian from the Southern Alliance arrives. Smug, he definitely has something to sell. The crew immediately goes on high alert at his very presence. Jian warns them about day 7 of this floor's brutal survival cycle. According to him, the island's hidden central boss is finally starting to move. This beast is a pure predator that treats hunters like an all-you-can-eat buffet. And right now, their tiny squad is sitting dangerously close to the bottom of the food chain. So the messenger flexes the Alliance's massive wealth by offering them a little gift. He hands over a rare healing flower produced by Guan Hyuk's sister. It is a high-tier recovery item that can fix almost anything except a broken heart. Jian officially invites them to join the Southern Alliance's massive raid group. Do that, and he promises all their food and mana struggles will instantly vanish. He acts like he is doing them the ultimate favor just by letting them in. Now he just waits for an answer, oozing supreme confidence and sporting an incredibly punchable grin. But Soma and the crew decide to take a hard pass on his offer. Giant is visibly offended that anyone would swipe left on his glorious organization. He warns them not to regret this decision when things inevitably turn ugly. After he storms off, Soma's teammates ask why he would reject such life-saving help, especially when they are on the brink of death, but the Southern Alliance has other plans. Cut to the center of the island, where absolute chaos is currently unfolding. A massive 200-person alliance is getting clapped into absolute oblivion. The hidden boss, Toronto, has arrived to completely ruin everyone's day. Their cowardly leader already abandoned the team just to save his own skin. Survivors are screaming betrayal while getting turned into permanent island decorations. This massive dragon is currently performing a devastating total lobby wipe. Turns out, having a massive group just made them a much bigger target. As the alliance crumbles, rumors of a legendary new power begin to spread. People are yapping about a savior of the third floor with golden wings. This mysterious figure is supposedly some angel's proxy sporting divine combat stats. Soma stares at this angelic being and realizes it is his old buddy, Guan Hyuk. Guan Hyuk orders Nathaniel to come along, and though she refuses, he does not give her a choice. Nearby, a random fighter grovels on the dirt, cursing this brutal third floor. Honestly, the dinosaur is way too overpowered to be defeated by mere humans. He watches the giant beast chase down a group of desperate players. They scream curses at their leader for ditching them at the worst possible moment. The grounded man stares up, trying to find a way to kill the stupid lizard. Suddenly, a blinding bolt of white light streaks straight toward the beast. It is Guan Hyuk in his angel form, because apparently he has infinite plot armor. He casually greets the monster before delivering a brutal blow to its massive skull. Shockingly, the dinosaur actually retreats, with Guan Hyuk hot on its tail. But the beast lets out a deafening roar, throwing our angel off balance. The remnants of the alliance step up, desperate to buy him some recovery time. They quickly turn the ground to mud and wrap heavy chains around the beast. These hunters celebrate their temporary hold, but their efforts are entirely futile. Soma watches as Guan Hyuk sacrifices even more humans for some seemingly greater cause. Only he truly knows. Now Guan Hyuk readies his skills as the desperate survivors gather close. Suddenly the ground starts shaking. Guan Hyuk's holy beast leaps forward, attacking the massive dinosaur boss. It successfully drives the beast back, but Sial knows this battle is far from over. The summon is quickly defeated and the dinosaur bolts, but Guan Hyuk is already hot on its tail. He refuses to let it escape. Honestly, he wanted this chaos to last a little bit longer. Since things changed, he has no choice. He drags Nathaniel along, ignoring the poor angel's protests. The giant dinosaur scrambles backward, desperately trying to return to its massive crater. The move leaves the crowd completely baffled. Sial wonders what Guan Hyuk is actually planning. A woman approaches Guan Hyuk, confirming she finished everything he asked her to do. He immediately broadcasts a message to everyone on the island, delivering a harsh dose of reality. Guan Hyuk reveals they have all been lied to. Collecting 6 stones will not save everyone. The getaway aircraft only holds 3 people, but he claims to have a real escape plan. He promises to get them to floor 4. Meanwhile, Young's flowers drift in a cold, dark cage. She is trapped behind iron bars, just before absolute despair sets in. Wait for it, our guy has a quick solution to clean up this entire mess. By tearing the levitation stone out of the Toronto's body, they can launch a rescue ship. It can hold 3,000 people, effectively patching a game-breaking system bug. Naturally, he is the only one who knows the code. He tells them to shut up. They must head to the northern camp to survive. He makes a bold new promise. Nobody has to murder each other anymore, which is pretty hilarious coming from a mass slayer. The desperate hunters immediately start chanting his name like he is some legendary rock star. Sial stands there with a massive headache and a million unanswered questions. But Guan Hyuk brushes him off. When the moment comes, everything will make sense. He will understand. Believe me, the real fun has barely even started. The energy is getting wilder by the second. Suddenly, the scene shifts. We jump to day 12, where plant-type hunters are forced into slave labor. Nathaniel is complaining about getting completely squeezed dry. She is losing all her mana without even fighting. Guan Hyuk's response is cold. He threatens to turn her into crop fertilizer. Right on cue, Sial returns. Sial reports that 2 assassins were eliminated, but they could not take them alive. These stealthy killers manage to completely bypass a high-level scouting squad. That is never a good sign. Still, Guan Hyuk decides to wait it out. He acts like his time is completely limitless. Later, we find him smoking a pipe. Guan Hyuk pulls Seol inside to discuss strategy, keeping their next move quiet. They want everything on the absolute down low, leaving Seol totally confused. He assumed they would need a massive raid party for the Toronto boss. But Guan Hyuk clarifies that even though it is meant for 50 people, 2 of them will do. Seol suddenly remembers that Guan Hyuk was already tossing that giant lizard around solo. He decides to make a swift exit before he questions his own career choices. He casually advises Guan Hyuk to quit smoking, but the warning goes ignored. Suddenly, a terrified man flees as a tied-up woman thanks Guan Hyuk for saving her. But saving lives is not his style. He coldly ends her life right there. Shortly after, Lillian appears, ready to praise his incredible performance with some rewards. Guan Hyuk has officially reached his impressive milestone of 100 kills. She acts like a proud boss, handing over a prize for his savage massacre. She presents him with a special protective lava talisman for his future battles. Guan Hyuk is bored by her generosity, demanding the Great Massacre quest instead. She tells him he cannot take 2 major quests at once, even if her rewards are vastly superior to any angel's leftover scraps. Still, she tries to bait him with a predatory afterlife contract, which is exactly what Guan Hyuk was waiting for. It guarantees him survival after the world ends. Suddenly, he drops some secret lore that you definitely won't find in any starter guide, specifically mentioning Bel Marduk's spears. He promises to make her a Grand Duke if she grants the specific quest he wants. This absolutely rattles Lillian. How could a mere human know about her secret demonic hierarchy? To end the chat, he drops the name of a devil contractor named Wemble. He demands his wings, and the demon realizes that Guan Hyuk is playing 4D chess while she is still stuck playing basic checkers. Now she is left sweating and terrified, wondering who this human actually is.